Chapter 21, Merit and Golden Reign, Shocking Changes in the North Sea. The conflict between the Phoenix and Qilin clans had long since ceased to be a simple war. It had become a grinding mill, devouring flesh and divine souls, spinning out of control across the central and southern reaches of the Great Desolation. Two mighty clans that had dominated for countless ages were being crushed, along with their pride, into dust. The sky ran a sickly, dark red. Nanmingli fire and divine earth thunder tore through the clouds again and again, staining them like a blood-soaked rag. The evil qi, resentment, and death qi of slaughter thickened into a viscous, black-red torrent that surged across the land. Wherever it passed, immortal mountains collapsed and spiritual veins were severed. These defiled energies rode the veins of heaven and earth and surged eastward toward the boundless four seas. In the East Sea, at the Crystal Palace's coiling dragon hall, a colossal water mirror reflected this purgatorial scene. Inside, the pure innate water spiritual qi was almost solidifying. Wisps of light blue mist swirled lazily among the beams and pillars. Longchen sat upon the crown prince's throne, while below him the four dragon lords and other high officials like Zulong wore varied expressions. It's too tragic, truly too tragic. Aonan, Dragon Lord of the South Sea, watched with trembling dragon whiskers. In the water mirror, a divine mountain was violently shattered. Tens of thousands of living beings turned to ash in an instant. A faint wisp of black-red qi penetrated space and seeped toward the East Sea at that moment. At the same instant, the entire four seas, from seabed to sky, lit up with a golden net. The 10,000 Dragons World Purification Formation had activated on its own. A deep, solemn roar echoed through the four seas. In the East Sea eye, the branches and leaves of the Ren Water Pantao tree swayed, though there was no wind, and countless soft Ren Water divine lights descended, merging into the heart of the formation. Tens of thousands of formation nodes across the four seas flared simultaneously, pouring endless dragon power and water origin into the net. The tribulation qi, enough to alarm a grand unity golden immortal, was instantly purified upon entering the formation's range. Its violence, malice, and madness were rapidly dissolved by the cleansing Ren Water divine light and the power of 10,000 dragons. What remained was the most fundamental energy. The Pantao tree transformed it and split it into two streams. One became incomparably pure innate spiritual qi, nourishing the four seas. The other condensed into drops of shining golden heavenly Tao karma. At first, only sporadic flecks of gold appeared, but as the war between Phoenix and Qilin intensified, surging tribulation qi fed the process. The golden lights lengthened into fine filaments, and finally a majestic rain of karma gold, covering the entire four seas, poured down. It's raining. No, it's golden rain. A patrol of crab soldiers in the East Sea felt a warm current wash through their shells as the droplets struck them, their carapaces brightened by several shades. It's karma! Heavenly Tao karma! Cried an old Prime Minister Turtle who had lived tens of thousands of years. He stretched his wrinkled neck into the downpour. The bottleneck that had plagued him for 30,000 years cracked open with a resounding sound. My dragon god, following your highness, the crown prince, truly brings merit, he sobbed. Ha! I feel like my dragon horns are about to grow another segment. Others laughed, sincere and almost giddy. Within the four seas, all who had contributed to the grand formation received the heavenly Tao's gift in this feast of karma. Inside the Crystal Palace, Ao Shi felt a bottleneck within his own body loosen and could no longer contain himself. He bowed deeply to Longchen. Your Highness, the Crown Prince, this old dragon, is convinced. At first, I was resentful of your Highness, Ao Dong said with a laugh. But now that my son Ao Jie entered the Blackwater Death Abyss for 10,000 years and returned with vitality for our clan, it was worth it indeed. Longchen's expression remained calm as he lifted his teacup and took a sip. This is only the beginning, he said, setting the cup down and looking out at the golden rain. The Phoenix and Qilin clans have centuries upon centuries of accumulated foundation. The blood they're shedding has only just begun to be used by us. We, the Dragon Clan, need only to sit here. Their slaughter will become our foundation. With this ebb and flow, after the Great Tribulation, who in the Great Desolation could possibly rival the Dragon Clan? Those words weighed heavily on the gathered dragon elders. They gazed between the water mirror's scenes of blood and fire and the golden rain that fell before them, letting a profound sense of satisfaction settle in. Being a landlord truly had its privileges. A crab general suddenly rushed into the hall, his carapace clattering against the floor. Report. Report to your highness, the crown prince and all dragon lords. Trouble at Black Rock Reef, on the border of the East Sea and South Sea. The comfortable air in the hall froze. Aonan frowned. Trouble? Which clan? Have they eaten the heart of a bear and the guts of a leopard? It's the Black Shark clan and the Crimson Blood Sea Serpent clan, the crab general stammered. They ganged up and seized Black Rock Reef. They even killed several of our patrolling night yakshas who went to negotiate and hung their bones on the reef. Presumptuous. Aoshi slammed his armrest, fury rekindling. Two insignificant clans daring to make trouble for the Dragon Clan. Crown Prince, give the order. I will personally lead the troops and grind them to dust. Exactly. They must be punished severely. Otherwise, where's the prestige of the Dragon Clan? Aonan roared. War cries filled the hall, but Longchen raised a hand, calling for silence. He addressed the crab general with a steady tone. What demands did they make? They said since the Dragon Clan wishes to practice the kingly way and govern the four seas, it shouldn't monopolize the East Sea. They demand that the sea within 300,000 li around Black Rock Reef be designated their domain. Dream on, Aoshi thundered. Zulong's aged voice added, this is an overt scheme. Longchen rose and took the floor. Indeed, it is Rahu's open scheme. If we ignore it, our declaration to suppress the seas and bring peace will be an empty phrase. Who will respect us then? If we send a large army to crush them, a minor general could wipe out two small clans. But if that's publicized, we'll look like bullies, tyrants abusing the weak. If Rahu is behind this, he's likely waiting for us to act so he can drag us into his tribulation quagmire. His words calmed the dragon's rising tempers. Aoshi muttered, then what do? We can't hand over territory. If we open that door, anyone will come begging. Of course we can't give the territory, Longchen said, nor will we dispatch troops recklessly. He scanned the hall until every eyes were on him. Since we want to be landlords, we must act like landlords. Order the Sea Suppression Bureau to send a team of envoys carrying my crown prince's decree to Black Rock Reef. Aodong looked puzzled. Envoys? To reason with them? If they could be reasoned with, they wouldn't have killed our night yakshas. Not to reason, Longchen replied calmly, his authority absolute. To proclaim the first article of our Dragon Clan's newly established Four Seas Code. Anyone within the Four Seas who causelessly incites slaughter or encroaches upon another clan's territory shall be deemed a public enemy of the Four Seas. The Sea Suppression Bureau will arrest them and administer public execution according to law. We are not suppressing, we are enforcing the law. If they surrender, they will be escorted back to the Crystal Palace for trial. If they resist, that is open defiance of the law, and then sending troops will be justified and righteous. The dragons were stunned, then their faces lit up. A single change of words made all the difference. Suppression versus law enforcement. Suppression was tyranny, law enforcement was the kingly way. Brilliant, truly brilliant. Aoshi slapped his thigh in genuine praise. Zulong nodded slowly, eyes approving. Just as Longchen prepared to give specific orders, the entire Great Desolation fell deathly silent. An indescribable aura erupted from the far north and swept across the lands in an instant. It was ancient, profound, and vast, supremely majestic, oppressive yet protective. Within the coiling dragon hall, every dragon felt a pressure press into the depths of their bloodline, making their bodies involuntarily tense. The entire North Sea's water was depressed 100 jang by an invisible force. Winds and clouds overhead changed hue, auspicious clouds gathered, heavenly flowers drifted down, and golden lotuses sprouted from the water's surface. From the 9 heavens, an incredibly thick pillar of karma gold descended, ignoring spatial distance, and poured directly into the far northern reaches of the North Sea. This is. Aobei, Dragon Lord of the North Sea, felt it most keenly and trembled with excitement. Senior Xuanwu has broken through. He had advanced to Grand Unity Golden Immortal Perfection, and even taken a solid half-step beyond it. On the Mount Buzhou battlefield, Shi Qilin had just sent a Phoenix clan elder flying with a divine thunderbolt when he suddenly looked northward, bewildered. At the undying volcano, Yuanfeng, her body wreathed in Nanming fire that burned the heavens and boiled the seas, paused mid-strike, Phoenix eyes wide in surprise. Xuanwu? Wasn't he long crippled? How could this be possible? As the top figures across the Great Desolation reeled from the shocking changes in the North Sea, a deep, ancient voice rolled from the extreme north, echoing through the four poles of the realm. I, this old Xuanwu, am able to break free from my shackles today and advance further, all thanks to the enlightenment of your highness, the crown prince of the Dragon Clan. From this day forward, my Xuanwu lineage will forever guard the North Sea and be an ally of the Dragon Clan. Anyone who is an enemy of the Dragon Clan is an enemy of my Xuanwu. The declaration sent monstrous waves of emotion surging through the Great Desolation. In the myriad Devil Hall, Mount Sumeru, Rahu's face drained of color as he crushed a demon-eye gem in his hand. His ancient chessboard, eons in the planning, had at last produced a piece that moved beyond his control. Inside the Crystal Palace, Longchen smiled as he listened to Xuanwu's proclamation. He turned to the Crab General still kneeling in the hall. The law enforcement envoys should be dispatched as planned, he said. However, he added, they should also ask one more thing. And that is? Ask the Black Shark Clan and the Crimson Blood Sea Serpent Clan if they can afford to provoke the allies of the Dragon Clan. Chapter 22. Xuanwu proves the truth, and Luo Hao overturns the table. Xuanwu's declaration fell like a heavenly Tao edict. Each word struck from the far north and burned itself into the hearts of every power in the Great Desolation. On the blood-soaked plain of Mount Buzhou, that ancient, vast aura, mixed with boundless golden karma light, forced the grinding mill of war to stop. For the first time, the Phoenix and Qilin clans, whose eyes had been red with killing intent, faltered. Xuanwu, wasn't he supposed to have turned to ashes in the last great tribulation? A Phoenix elder whispered, voice trembling. The Nanming Li fire in his hand dimmed. He stared to the north in disbelief. Yuanfeng stood upon the clouds, Qilin blood still staining her majestic Fengyu. She looked toward the northern light of karma, which had not yet fully dispersed, and felt an unfamiliar unease spread through her chest. Xuanwu, an ancient being who should have been silent and gone, had not only survived, he had advanced in realm, and now appeared aligned with the Dragon Clan. The Dragon Clan Crown Prince, enlightened? Yuanfeng murmured, each word striking like an accusation. She had always thought herself infallible, adept at manipulating Shi Qilin and his clan. Yet she had failed to see through Long Chen, the young crown prince of the Dragon Clan. He had first withdrawn from the direct struggle for supremacy, letting her and the Qilin clan tear each other apart. Then he had converted the bloodshed into karma, turning their losses into the Dragon Clan's foundation. Now even a living fossil like Xuanwu had silently been drawn into his orbit, becoming the Dragon Clan's ally. This was more than fortunate. This overturned the common sense of the Great Desolation. Yuanfeng! Shi Qilin's roar split the air. Blood covered his Qilin true body as he trampled mountain and river, his crimson eyes fixed on her, but his rage burned even more toward the north and to the east. Good. What a Dragon Clan! What a Xuanwu! The Qilin clan governed the land, and Xuanwu had traditionally guarded one flank, an alliance long desired by Shi Qilin. He had sent envoys and lavish gifts to the North Sea countless times, seeking to bind Xuanwu as an ally, but had never been granted an audience. Now the Dragon Crown Prince, reclining in the East Sea, had somehow won this old being over? This struck at Shi Qilin's pride like a slap in front of all the Great Desolation. He glared at his wounded son Mo Qilin, whose origin was shattered and aura weak, then at the encroaching Phoenix forces. Feeling suffocated on three sides, his fury turned to strategy. Yuanfeng, put the war between our clans aside for now. His voice rolled across the battlefield. Today, if my Qilin clan does not demand an explanation from the Dragon Clan, I, Shi Qilin, will not be emperor. Yuanfeng narrowed her phoenix eyes and did not answer immediately. She knew Shi Qilin wanted to drag her into a joint front against the Dragon Clan, but with Xuanwu now siding with the dragons, the situation had sharply changed. Explanation? Yuanfeng sneered. Do you want an explanation for your son, or for your face? The Dragon Clan hides behind the four seas, and with Xuanwu at their side, how do you expect to demand an explanation? Take your remnants and fallen soldiers and fill the sea. Qilin shot back. His anger flared and then steadied. Yes, how to fight. The Dragon Clan was no longer the same as before. Western continent, Mount Sumeru. Inside the demonic palace, the light was dim. Luohao's face was darker than the gloom all around. He stared at the demonic eye gem on the altar, an evil stone that gathered devilish qi. Its glow had nearly gone out. 7/10 of the evil qi produced by the Phoenix Qilin slaughter had vanished as if eaten, transformed by that damned 10,000 dragons world purification formation into nourishment for the Dragon Clan. Xuanwu, who should have been consumed by the Great Tribulation, had been revived by the scraps the Dragon Clan left, and now he had become a force to be reckoned with. Longchen. Luohao ground out the name through his clenched teeth. The Dragon Crown Prince was the variable. This whirlwind of events could not have been conjured by the foolish ancestral dragon. Using karma to break the killing tribulation, using guardianship as cover to seize advantage, Longchen had dug straight at Luohao's path. My Dao path has been cut off. We are irreconcilable. Luohao rose from the 12th grade Black Lotus of world destruction. In the empty demonic palace, devilish qi surged like storm winds. Whenever Luohao arranged a plan, the other party always seemed a step ahead. Then he would upend the chessboard. He would use the purest, most domineering power to utterly ruin the game. I want to see how hard your Dragon Clan's turtle shell really is, he snarled, forming hand seals. Ancient demonic incantations spilled from his lips. Immortal slaughter is sharp. Immortal slaying is death. Trap Immortal's red light rises everywhere. Absolute Immortal's changes are infinitely wondrous, and the great Luo Immortal's robes are stained with blood. With his chant, 4 peerless, ominous swords materialized behind him, and a monstrous killing intent saturated the heavens. Immortal slaughtering sword, immortal slaying sword, trap immortal sword, absolute immortal sword. Ordinary pollution, purification formations can still handle that. But what if it's annihilation at the law level? A cruel smile cut across Luohao's face. The Dragon Clan takes water as its origin. The 4 seas are its foundation. Water carries the boat, and it can also overturn it. Today, I will defile the source of all waters in the great desolation. He pointed not to the east, but deep into the earth. The 4 ominous swords did not fly out. They transformed into invisible threads of law, piercing space itself, diving down to the deepest part of the great desolation continent, the origin node where countless water veins converged. That place was the ancestral vein of all rivers, lakes, and seas. With my demonic path origin, I will draw forth the killing intent of heaven and earth, he roared. Sword Qi, merge into all waters. Then Luohao sat back. The phantoms of the swords faded. He had not overturned the chessboard outright. Instead, he had slipped an insoluble poison into his opponent's water glass. Now he only needed to wait for the poison to take effect. East Sea, Crystal Palace, Coiling Dragon Hall. Xuanwu's declaration rippled into the hall. The chamber fell silent, sir, then erupted into thunderous cheers. Ally, old ancestor Xuanwu has become our ally. Ao Nan, Dragon Lord of the South Sea, cried, his whiskers trembling. He smacked a 10,000-year-old coral pillar so hard it cracked. Your Highness Crown Prince, your move, truly a stroke of genius. Ao Shi, Dragon Lord of the West Sea, flushed with excitement, his eyes showing reverence and a new fanaticism toward Longchen. This was true power. Let the Phoenix and Qilin tear each other apart, while the Dragon Clan quietly reaped karma and gained a top-tier ally for nothing. Ao Dong, the East Sea Dragon Lord, bellowed, issue an order. Tonight, we shall hold a grand banquet. Let all the young ones in the 4 seas learn that following His Highness the Crown Prince means feasts and fortune. Amid their jubilation, Zulong studied the gladdened dragons and then looked to Longchen. He spoke slowly and softly, and his words damped the hall's cheer. Xuanwu's emergence shakes the great desolation. It is indeed a great boon, but it also puts our Dragon Clan completely in the open. We have become a thorn in many existences' sides. The dragons' faces fell. Longchen set down his teacup and nodded in agreement. Elder Zulong speaks truly. We have jumped off the chessboard and become a variable outside of it. The players won't like that. He gazed beyond the hall, as if peering through endless seawater. When soldiers come, we block them. When water comes, we cover it with earth. For now, a small matter remains. His eyes turned to the uneasy crab general below. What of the Black Shark clan and the Red Blood Sea Serpent clan? The crab general shuddered and answered quickly. Reporting to His Highness the Crown Prince, the envoys from the Sea Suppression Bureau have already set out to Black Rock Reef with your orders. Aoshi snorted. 2 clowns daring to challenge our prestige. Crown Prince, why not let old ancestor Xuanwu roar and scare them to death? That would be bullying the small, Aonan replied, shaking his head. His Highness the Crown Prince's policy of enforcing the law is the true kingly path. We are law-abiding now. Long Chen smiled, about to respond, when a shrill alarm shattered the hall's fragile calm. The Sea Suppression Bureau's highest alarm. It meant the Dragon Clan's very foundation was facing an unprecedented threat. What's happening? Aodong's earlier roar froze midair as the huge Four Seas sand table in the hall churned violently. At the estuaries representing the continent's 100 rivers, small red dots began to flash erratically. At first, they were scattered, then hundreds lit up, then thousands. The sand table's once azure river flows began, from their junction with the Four Seas, to run shocking black with faint traces of ominous blood red, the dark spreading upstream. The blackness seemed alive, devouring the blue light that marked water veins. Pollution. Your Highness the Crown Prince, it's an unprecedented large-scale pollution. A monitoring officer from the Dragon Clan stumbled into the hall, voice shaking. Reporting, purification formations at the estuaries of the 100 rivers are collapsing across vast areas. The source of the pollution is unknown, and the spread is accelerating. Before he finished, another messenger barreled in. Report, urgent from the West Sea. The entire water system of the Huntian and Chishui rivers has become demonized. The rivers have turned to black blood. All life in the water has vanished. The pollution is rushing toward our inner seas. Report, urgent from the South Sea. The Tianhe and Jugu rivers, the pollution index has exceeded purification limits, requesting support. Report, North Sea. One urgent dispatch after another pounded the coiling dragon hall like a drumbeat of death. The festive atmosphere collapsed into a grave silence, broken only by the messenger's ragged breaths. Zulong crossed to the sand table, eyes narrowing into slits. He plucked a wisp of the polluted water from the model. No, this isn't mere evil qi, nor ordinary devilish qi, he said, horror lacing his voice. This is annihilation at the law level. It erases the vitality of water. This isn't pollution, it's severing the foundation of our Four Seas. If the sources were poisoned, the Four Seas would become a dead sea. All eyes turned to Long Chen. He remained silent, stepping forward to draw a thread of the dark water from the sand table. Inside that black strand, a faint trace of blood-colored qi writhed like a living venomous serpent, radiating a killing intent so sharp it made his chest tighten. Long Chen's face went as cold as the 10,000-year ice in the North Sea. Immortal slaughtering sword qi, he said, voice low. It's Luo Hao. Aoshi roared, fury and disbelief mixing in his cry. How dare he? Does he seek to make an enemy of the entire Great Desolation? He's not making an enemy of the Great Desolation, Long Chen replied, looking steadily at the corrupted water. His voice was terrifyingly calm. He's making an enemy of our Dragon Clan. He's overturned the table. Chapter 23, Zhuxian's sword energy, the taint on the water veins. Luo Hao, it's that damn demon again, hiding in the shadows. Aonan, Dragon Lord of the South Sea, slammed his palm down on the 10,000-year black ice jade table before him. The table shattered with a roar into a spray of ice shards. His chest heaved, and his dragon eyes burned a furious red. How dare he strike at the great water veins of the primordial world? He's cutting off the lifeblood of every aquatic race. Your Highness, Ao Shi, Dragon Lord of the West Sea, stepped forward. We cannot wait. He is digging at the roots of our dragon clan. If we let this continue, the Four Seas will become tombs, not palaces, burying our sons and daughters. Then we fight. Ao Dong, Dragon Lord of the East Sea, shouted. Summon every Tai golden immortal rank battle dragon from the Four Seas. Wake the old ancestors in the ancestral Dragon Hall. We charge Mount Sumeru and tear his demonic palace down, even if we perish. The hall, which had grown complacent watching the Phoenix and Qilin clans scorch the continent and bathe in karma and spiritual energy, fell silent as a brutal despair spread through every veteran dragon. Luo Hao had taken the war directly to them. Just as the Dragon Lord's fury threatened to erupt, the 10,000 dragons throne at the hall's apex hummed low. A vast, weary majesty radiated from the throne. Silence. The sound smothered the uproar instantly. It was the voice of Father God himself. The Dragon Lords shut their mouths, staring at the empty throne with awe and anxiety. The ancestral dragon did not appear, but his will flowed through the symbol of Dragon Clan authority, even from the depths of his death seclusion. "Chenner, you speak." The single sentence signaled that the sovereign had, for the moment, entrusted the fate of the Dragon Clan to Long Chen. "Uncles, calm yourselves," Long Chen said as he stepped to the Four Seas sandbox, where foul black water churned. His composure contrasted sharply with the other's rage. "Look at this," and he pointed. The scene on the sandbox zoomed. In the fetid, inky water, countless hair-thin, blood-red threads swam like writhing veins. Each thread was composed of billions of tiny destruction runes. Wherever the water flowed, life withered. Spiritual water became death water, radiating an aura of finality. The torch dragon's burning pupils pinched to slits. This ancient dragon, unimaginably long-lived, spoke with a chill. "This isn't mere pollution. At the level of the laws, it is erasing the very concept of water." "What a vicious method," someone muttered. "Charge Mount Sumeru?" Long Chen asked, turning his gaze on the most vehement Ao Shi. "Uncle of the West Sea, what is on Mount Sumeru?" Ao Shi's face flickered. "Luo Hao's lair, his demon den." "No." Long Chen shook his head. "It's the immortal slaughtering sword formation, the first killing formation since Pangu split the heavens. Unless one possesses a treasure of equal rank to restrain luck, a grand unity golden immortal would only have their primordial spirit shattered. If we go all out, we'd be sending every generation of our clan, old and young, into his swords. We'd be paving his final steps to Tao with our son's blood." Long Chen fixed Ao Shi with a calm gaze. "Is that a bargain you're willing to pay?" Ao Shi's face flushed, then went pale. He opened his mouth, but no words came. The hall simmered in fearful silence. "Then what do we do?" Ao Dong paced restlessly. "We can't just watch. The 10,000 Dragons World Purification Formation is our only hope. It depends on the Four Seas water veins. If those veins are destroyed, the formation fails." "He is not merely polluting our Four Seas," Long Chen said, tracing the spreading black filth on the sandbox with a fingertip. "He is tainting the primordial world's water veins at their sources. Our Four Seas will only be the final dead swamps where all filth converges." "This is an open ploy," Long Chen continued. "He wants us out of the Four Seas, to force us to march onto the continent and squander the strength we spent generations building. If our armies leave to purify the continent," he said, cutting through their silence, "the Phoenix and Qilin clans, currently tearing each other apart, will stop at once. They will see our Dragon Clan taking advantage of their war and rushing in to seize the primordial world for ourselves. They will unite to eliminate what they perceive as the greater threat, us. We will go from chess players to the largest pawn on the board, besieged by two great families, while Luo Hao on Mount Sumeru watches calmly and reaps the benefits." The warm coral light in the hall seemed to freeze the dragons to their bones. Fighting was suicide. Doing nothing meant a slow death. Ao Nan's voice was a hollow rasp. "Are we really just going to watch the Four Seas become a stinking ditch and all our generation's foundations be destroyed? Who said we have to wait to die?" Long Chen lifted his head. "He overturns the chessboard. Do we scramble to pick up the pieces on his terms? He's trying to contaminate the continent's waters. Fine, I will go to the continent and twist the faucets from the source." The torch dragon's pupils brightened. "You mean to find the source nodes?" "Yes." Long Chen nodded. "Luo Hao cannot pollute the entire primordial world from nothing. His immortal slaughtering sword qi must be attached to a few major water vein sources, poisonous stakes that propagate the contamination. If we find and cleanse those nodes, we cut off his scheme at the root." "No," the throne's will surged again, this time unmistakable rejection. "Chenner, the continent is Luo Hao's territory now. You are the Dragon Clan's hope. If anything befalls you, my clan will be doomed. Father God." Long Chen turned to the empty throne, unbending. "This isn't reckless bravado. Only I can do it." He plucked a thread of the black demonic water from the sandbox. Within its ink, a blood-red filament writhed, radiating a killing intent so intense that several Grand Unity Golden Immortal ranked Dragon Lords felt their primordial spirits sting. Immortal Slaughtering Sword Chi, a killing law at the law level. Which of you is confident you can extract it without damaging the water vein foundations? No one answered. They could brute force evaporate a river, but none could delicately peel away a bone-deep parasite. Longchen flicked his wrist, and 12 spinning pearls appeared in his palm, each emanating a broad aura capable of stabilizing earth, water, fire, and wind, his innate spirit treasures, the sea-stabilizing divine pearls. He slid a green pearl toward the wisp of black water. The pearl did not explode. It cast a gentle green light that fixed the violent sword chi like venom frozen in amber. The killing laws struggled, then were immobilized. The fetid water remade itself into a drop of pure, innate heavy water, floating at Longchen's fingertip. A flash of understanding hit the torch dragon. It's suppression, not annihilation. The sea-stabilizing Divine Pearl's law of stability counteracts the immortal slaughtering sword Chi's law of killing. Stability against destruction, order against chaos. Elder Torch Dragon is right. Longchen pocketed the pearl. My magic treasure is only medium grade, but it is precisely the right tool for this job. He met the Dragon Lord's eyes. We cannot launch a large-scale army. That would alert the Phoenix and Qilin clans. The best way is to send a small, elite team to infiltrate the continent quietly and sever the Gordian knot before anyone can react. This concerns the Dragon Clan's survival. I have the duty. At this moment, I am not the Crown Prince, he said. I am head of the Sea Suppression Bureau. The Bureau's duty is to regulate the primordial world's water veins and purify heaven and earth. The veins are in crisis. If I do not go, who will? Silence filled the hall long enough for a sigh to travel from the throne, reluctant, pained, then resolved. My dragon clan, how fortunate we are to have you. A purple-gold dragon-shaped great seal materialized above the throne and slowly drifted down before Longchen. Take the 10,000 dragon seal with you. Thank you, Father God. Longchen accepted it solemnly, then turned to the Dragon Lords with orders. Elder Torch Dragon, here. The Torch Dragon bowed. While you're gone, I will preside over Central Command and fully manage the 10,000 Dragons World Purification Formation. The formation must not stop. It must not only continue, it must be pushed to its maximum purification efficiency. I want every clan member to see that the Dragon Clan can handle this crisis and keep everyone's hearts steady. As your Highness commands, as long as this old dragon lives, the formation will not die. Aodong. Present. The East Sea will be our face while we act. Coordinate the Four Seas resources and appease the other clans. If anyone dares to make trouble, treat them kindly first, then with force. Those who refuse to comply may be executed under the Crown Prince's order and reported afterward. As you say, I will snap off their heads if anyone causes trouble. Ao Shi, Ao Nan. Here, both answered. You two integrate all combat-ready legions of the West and South Seas and raise them to the highest state of alert. Not to advance, but to defend against any hidden moves by Luo Hao or opportunists seeking to profit from chaos. We obey. Order, like a sea-stabilizing divine pearl, spread through the once-panicked coiling dragon hall. Long Chen scanned the assembly. Prime Minister Turtle, where is Ao Zhan? At his words, an old man with a turtle shell on his back, and a white beard dragging the floor, and a young dragon general in black armor with a fierce aura, hurried into the hall. Your subject is here. Prime Minister Turtle, you manage our hydrological charts and records. Come with me and locate the water vein nodes. Ao Zhan, you are the Dragon Clan's outstanding new general. Protect and clear our path. We are willing to die for your highness. Both knelt without hesitation. Longchen bowed solemnly to the throne and the Dragon Lords. Father God, uncles, I leave the Dragon Palace to you. Then he vanished in a streak of light. Prime Minister Turtle and Ao Zhan closed behind. Outside the coiling dragon hall in the East Sea Crystal Palace, Longchen paused and looked back. Inside the hall, countless gazes converged on him, weighing heavily on his shoulders. He clasped his fists in salute toward the hall, then turned and became a streak of brilliant blue water, breaking through gate after gate and shooting straight toward the sea. Prime Minister Turtle and Ao Zhan followed closely, silent. The moment the three broke the surface, a different kind of air hit them. It wasn't the fresh, spirit chi-laden breeze from within the four seas. It was scorching, mixed with the smell of char and blood and lingering divine ability, thick, turbid evil chi born from the grievances of billions before their deaths. Even Aozhan's powerful Dragon Clan physique was affected. He choked and started coughing. "Damn it," he muttered. "This air's like swallowing burning charcoal. Those idiots from the Phoenix and Qilin clans are going to tear the sky open." Prime Minister Turtle's old face darkened as he pulled an ancient, dark water compass from the thick shell on his back. Its needle didn't settle. It spun wildly, buzzing with a mournful wail. "Your Highness, the situation is not good," he said in a dry voice. "The concentration of evil chi on the great desolate continent is over 10 times what I deduced while in seclusion. The heavenly secrets are in complete chaos. Nothing can be calculated anymore." Longchen stood on the water, letting the wind, tainted with evil chi, ruffle his white robes. His gaze pierced the churning gray tribulation clouds to the vast, hazy outline of the continent. "This is exactly what Rahu wants," he said. "The more chaotic the heavenly secrets, the deeper that venomous snake will hide. Prime Minister, unroll the complete water vein map and start checking from the East Continent coastline," Longchen ordered. "Yes, Your Highness." Prime Minister Turtle conjured a huge beast skin scroll. It expanded into a holographic sandbox 100 li across, suspended before them. Blue lines mapped the Great Desolate's water veins like a vast spiderweb. In the East Continent region, hundreds of main rivers were being filled from their estuaries with an ominous, inky black substance, like a giant's blood vessels, blackening and rotting from the extremities inward. "Your Highness, see, the Hunshan River, the Chishui River, the Juk River, these major veins are the living sources for our East Sea and South Sea." Prime Minister Turtle's finger traced the spreading blackness, his voice tight. 30% of the purification nodes set up by the 10,000 Dragons World Purification Formation at the estuaries have been breached. They've been rendered ineffective by this foul water. Aozhan stared at the map, his knuckles whitening. "These damned demonic brats are poisoning our rice bowls. They know the 10,000 Dragons World Purification Formation is our foundation," Longchen murmured. He slid his finger along the holograph until it stopped on the thickest, most thoroughly blackened river. "The Huai River." "Indeed," Prime Minister Turtle confirmed. "The Huai originates from Tongbai Mountain and is the ancestor of the East Continent's water veins. Its thousands of tributaries nourish millions of li. Polluting it would be the most devastating blow to the East Continent and to our Dragon Clan. No, let's not attack the Huai yet." Longchen suddenly shifted his finger to a small, inconspicuous tributary beside it. "This, Ying River?" After a moment's examination, Prime Minister Turtle answered, "It's a minor branch of the Huai. This river is insignificant." "Let's test our swords on it first," Longchen interrupted. "We know little about Rahu's methods. This is our first direct confrontation. If we rush into a main vein like the Huai, and there are traps we haven't foreseen, we may put ourselves at a disadvantage." "Aozhan, Prime Minister Turtle, conceal your auras and assume human forms." "Yes." With a flash, Aozhan became a resolute general in dark armor, Prime Minister Turtle, an old man in a green robe leaning on a dragon-headed cane, and Longchen, an ordinary young man in white. The 10,000 Dragons seal emitted a faint yellow luck that cloaked them, erasing their auras from the world. "Let's go," to the Ying River. The three streaked toward the continent. The deeper they flew, the more scarred the land below became. Plains were torn into ravines by huge claw marks. Mountains were blasted into basins by violent divine abilities. Broken phoenix feathers and shattered Qilin horns lay among the bones of countless beings. At one point, Aozhan halted and pointed to a collapsed mountain god temple. "Your Highness, something's still alive down there." They descended. Beneath the ruins, a hunched, dim earth god trembled. Seeing Longchen and the others materialize, he tried to burrow into the ground. Prime Minister Turtle tapped his dragon-headed cane and a gentle water element force steadied the earth beneath the god's feet. "Do not fear. We are from the East Sea Dragon Clan, passing through with no ill intent," Prime Minister Turtle said softly. The earth god peered up at their extraordinary bearing, saw no violent evil chi on them, and calmed slightly. This humble god greets the three immortals. Longchen asked, "Why has this place been destroyed like this?" The earth god sighed, sorrow written on his face. "It's because the Phoenix and Qilin clans went mad with killing. A few days ago, a squad of Qilin soldiers chased a lone phoenix past my mountain. Their battle of divine abilities flattened my temple. If I hadn't fled, even my divine position and golden body would have been shattered." "That isn't what we meant," Longchen said, pointing to the Black River. "What happened to that river?" At the mention of the Ying, the earth god's sorrow turned to fear. "That river cannot be touched." His voice trembled. "Half a month ago, a streak of bloody light fell from the sky into the deep pool at the river's source. Overnight, the whole river turned as black as ink and stank. Fish, shrimp, all aquatic life died that day. Those that didn't die turned into monsters." He indicated twisted corpses on the bank. "At the foot of my mountain lived a nest of mountain spirits who gained sentience. They went to the river to drink. The next day, they drank and instantly dissolved into puddles of black water, no form left. Since then, no living thing within 100 li dares to approach the Ying." Aojan's expression grew darker. They bid the earth god farewell and reached the Ying's bank. The river was no more than 100 zhang across, viscous and black as tar, calm but radiating a deathly aura that would pierce even a primordial spirit. A black shadow shot from the water, an anthropoid water monstrosity, rotting scales, black water streaming from its eye sockets. It opened a fanged maw and lunged. "Seeking death!" Aojan sprang forward, his dragon spear streaking like black lightning. The water monster didn't dodge. The spear pierced its chest while it spat a mouthful of black venom at Aojan's face. He dodged. The venom hissed onto the ground and corroded a wide pit. "This thing fears no death," he growled as he shattered the monster with a single thrust. More creatures crawled from the Black River, packed and roaring as they surged ashore. "They're already dead," Longchen said coldly. "Only shells controlled by immortal slaughtering sword chi and devilish chi remain. Rahu's method is to sever the life force of spirits. It's truly vicious," Prime Minister Turtle sighed. Longchen extended his hand and produced a brilliant cyan pearl. He didn't unleash its power. He simply pushed it toward the river's surface. A soft cyan light radiated from the sea-stabilizing divine pearl and spread outward. Where its light passed, time and space seemed to pause. The roaring, clawing water monsters froze mid-attack, like lifelike sculptures. "Clear them out," Longchen told Aojan. "Yes!" Aojan swept his dragon spear, and the immobilized monsters, utterly defenseless, were pulverized by the sharp spear wind. "Your Highness, your sea-stabilizing divine pearl can directly suppress immortal slaughtering sword ki," Prime Minister Turtle said, voice tinged with excitement. "Only temporarily," Longchen corrected. "Immortal slaughtering sword chi governs slaughter. The sea-stabilizing divine pearl governs stability. Order restrains chaos. Stability checks destruction. There is a natural law of restraint, but to completely eliminate it, the 10,000 Dragons World Purification Formation is still needed." He squatted at the riverbank and dipped a fingertip into the temporarily subdued water. As his magic probed, hair-fine blood-colored filaments were forced up from the river and clung to his fingertip, unable to move. "Found it," Longchen said. "Rahu uses a strand of immortal slaughtering sword chi as a poisoned stake driven into a water vein node, then activates the world's evil chi to poison the entire river," he explained. "We simply need to go upstream, find the stake, the source, and use the sea-stabilizing divine pearl to suppress and seal it. The Ying can be saved." "Pull the rug out from under them," Prime Minister Turtle said, understanding. "Let's go." They traced the desolate river upstream. Half a day later, they reached the source, a deep, cold pool in a valley. In its center, a faint, bloody light pulsed like an evil heart, exhaling black, devilish chi. "There it is." Without hesitation, Longchen conjured 12 sea-stabilizing divine pearls. The pearls formed a profound formation, engulfing the pool in a cage of ordered force. The bloody strand of sword chi writhed with killing intent, trying to break free, but the formation held. Finally, it was suppressed and sealed into a single cyan pearl. As the poisoned stake was removed, the devilish chi in the Ying dissipated visibly. The inky black water slowly regained clarity. "It's done!" Aojan shouted. Longchen recalled 11 pearls, leaving the one containing the sword Qi, and tossed it to Prime Minister Turtle. Prime Minister, have trustworthy seabirds fly this straight back to the East Sea and hand it to Elder Zulong for analysis. Yes, Your Highness. I will go at once, Prime Minister Turtle answered. With that arranged, Longchen turned his gaze to the distant Huai River. Warm-up's over, he said. Let's go, to Tongbai Mountain. It's time to meet the true master of the East Continent's water veins. The three of them collapsed into faint streaks of light that hugged the murky surface of the Huai River as they sped upstream. The farther they pushed into the continent's interior, the more a deathly silence sank into their bones. From time to time, streaks of light carrying thick, malevolent Qi screamed across the sky. A squadron of the Phoenix clan's Firecrow cavalry cut like red-hot plows through the powdered clouds. The Firecrows they rode shrieked, crimson eyes sweeping the land below, searching for any trace of the Qilin clan. They flew directly over the pitch-black Huai River without so much as a glance at it. These feathered things, bloodshot eyes from slaughter, Aojan muttered from the shadow of a mountain hollow, voice full of contempt. Their own water veins are almost poisoned and ruined, yet they race about to see whose blade is sharper. Prime Minister Turtle leaned on the dragon-headed staff, his old face lined with worry. Don't be so harsh, he said. Longchen's voice came from the side. From their point of view, the contamination of the water veins could very well be the Qilin clan's doing. Luohao's method is to make them lose the ability to reason, leave only blind hatred. Prime Minister Turtle fell silent. Longchen's divine thought had already been sent out like an invisible thread probing the mountain range ahead. The immortal slaughtering sword Qi there sat heavy and oppressive, thicker than anywhere downstream. Luohao had driven a poisoned nail deep into this ancestral earth vein of the eastern continent. After several days of flight, the outline of a majestic mountain range finally loomed ahead. The main peak pierced the clouds, and even hundreds of miles away, one could sense the innate spiritual Qi of a blessed land. But threaded through that spiritual Qi was a tight wisp of black Qi, making the entire sacred mountain look sickly and fading. Your Highness, that should be Tongbai Mountain, Prime Minister Turtle said, pointing to the main peak. His voice weighed down. The earth vein's spiritual eye, the source of the Huai River, lies beneath that summit. No rush. Longchen raised a hand and signaled the others to stop. He slowly descended to the edge of a forest at the mountain's base. From here, we go on foot. Aojan slipped his spear away and asked, puzzled, why not fly over? This will take too long. Listen, Longchen replied without directly answering. Aojan tilted his head and strained to hear. His expression darkened. It's too quiet, he said under his breath. Longchen's burly frame tensed into combat posture. Yes, too quiet. His gaze swept the silent mountain woods. A divine mountain like Tongbai should be alive with immortal birds and spirit beasts. But now, besides the wind, there's nothing, not even insects chirping. The forest felt like a newly finished graveyard. The three concealed their auras and moved in on foot. The ground beneath their soles was slick and black. Each step made a wet, squelching sound as if the soil were rotten and adhesive. Ancient trunks along the path were not fully dead, but were veined with dark purple patterns. Black viscous fluid oozed from cracks in the bark, carrying a stench of blood and decay. The earth vein is being polluted at its source, Prime Minister Turtle said. He tapped a bit of soil with the tip of his dragon-headed staff and sniffed. The smell pulled a tight frown across his ancient face. Devilish Qi has seeped deep into the rock and soil. The mountain's vitality is being devoured. Shh! Longchen suddenly raised a finger to his lips and pointed into the deepening shadows ahead. A faint rustle, then the dragging of something heavy approached. Aojan braced, spear across his chest, eyes glowing with martial light as he fixed on the movement. 7 or 8 huge shapes emerged from the forest gloom, fierce tigers with glaring eyes and pale foreheads. But the sight turned Aojan's stomach. Large patches of fur had fallen from their bodies, exposing dark red, constantly twitching muscle. Their eyes held no living spirit, only raw, bloody madness. Even stranger, every one of those tigers, male and female alike, had grotesquely swollen bellies. The flesh under their stomachs writhed as if something alive moved inside. Yao beasts eroded by devilish Qi? Aojan guessed low, tightening his grip on his spear. Their realm isn't high, only heavenly immortal realm. Don't move, Longchen pressed his shoulder. Look over there. Beneath an ancient tree, trembling on the ground, lay a pangolin with a spark of sentience. The nearest demon tiger seemed drawn by that faint living aura. It roared and pounced. The pangolin screamed and was pinned under the tiger's claws, but the tiger did not bite. Instead, with a wet, ripping sound, the distended belly of the tiger tore open and a black, mucus-slick tentacle shot out, sliding straight into the pangolin's body. The pangolin shriveled visibly. Its essence blood, origin chi, even its divine soul, was siphoned up into the tentacle in mere breaths. After feeding, the tentacle's tip split open, revealing a small, toothy mouth that hissed in satisfaction before retracting into the tiger's belly. The tiger's girth swollen a little more. What is that? Aojan cursed softly. The scene was more grotesque than any battlefield he'd seen. They're not hunting, Longchen said coldly. They're feeding. Feeding, Prime Minister Turtle echoed, bewildered. At that moment, the demon tigers noticed Longchen and the others. Their blood-red eyes snapped to them in unison, and they roared, charging forward on all fours like maddened beasts. Your Highness Prime Minister, fall back! Aojan bellowed, fury and revulsion spiking his killing intent. He stepped forward, spear light unfurled, dragon-like power driving its tip straight for the lead demon tiger's brow. Aojan, don't kill it! Longchen shouted, but Aojan's strike was already gone, too fast to stop. The spear pierced the tiger's forehead. There was no spray of brain and blood. The moment the spear struck, the demon tiger froze. Then, with a sudden explosive snap, it blew apart like an overstressed water skin. A rain of putrid black blood and shredded flesh exploded outward. Watch out! Longchen hauled Prime Minister Turtle aside, and a clear blue curtain of water spread out, sheltering the three of them. But the shredded flesh did not simply fall inert, it writhed. Hundreds of arm-thick black tentacles erupted from the gore, each tipped with a greedy, tooth-filled maw. They surged toward Aojan like a shoal of sharks smelling blood, blotting out sky and ground. Aojan's face hardened. His spear flashed in a storm of shadows, shredding tentacles by the dozens, but each severed tentacle split into thousands of thumb-sized black beetles that buzzed in a high, eerie chorus and continued toward them. Retreat, Longchen growled. The water curtain expanded, enveloping Aojan as well. The beetles slammed against it and spat green, hissing smoke, purified on contact by the water element, but more beetles kept coming, unending as a tide. Your Highness, what kind of evil art is this? Prime Minister Turtle cried, watching the insect tide crash against their barrier. Aojan's face drained. The spear strike, meant to slay, had instead scattered a hornet's nest of countless new threats. This isn't an evil art, Longchen said, staring at the tigers battering the water curtain with their swollen bellies. These are Luohao's demon soldier incubators, he explained coldly. Luohao used the immortal slaughtering sword Qi to corrupt the living here, but his aim wasn't simply to kill. He's turned them into mobile brooding grounds, walking nests. If we kill them, the demon fetuses inside will hatch instantly, releasing more pollution. If we don't kill them, they'll keep exhausting our power or try to convert us into food. It's a cruel trap, Prime Minister Turtle breathed, a chill running through him. We can't break through by force. Longchen walked forward, withdrew the water curtain, and faced the frenzied insect tide and the remaining 7 demon tigers. 12 clear blue orbs, the sea-stabilizing divine pearls, rose slowly behind him, exuding a profound Tao resonance that suppressed eras in space. He didn't unleash a flashy divine skill. He simply extended a hand and pointed at the roaring tigers. Fix. One word, and the law answered. An invisible field of order snapped into place over the area. The charging tigers and the roaring insect swell suddenly froze in mid-action, locked in the exact poses they'd been in a heartbeat before. Longchen flicked his fingers. The 12 pearls shimmered. 7 of them shot out as precise green beams, plunging into the bodies of the trapped demon tigers. Refine. Under the absolute authority of the sea-stabilizing pearl domain, the demon tigers' bodies trembled. Beneath their hide, crimson threads, finer than hair, began to be drawn out from their true spiritual cores. Those threads were the immortal slaughtering sword Qi that had been transformed and embedded within these beasts. The sword Qi itself writhed, filling the air with endless murderous intent, trying to tear the tigers apart and detonate the incubated fetuses. But inside the ordered domain, the chaos had no foothold. The tigers howled in agonized relief as the last crimson thread was stripped away and swallowed into the pearl's inner space. The tigers and the frozen insect tide around them shriveled like sand sculptures baked for millennia and crumbled into piles of black powder. A gust of mountain wind scattered the dust until it was gone, erased from the origin of law itself. Aozhan and Prime Minister Turtle stood staring, speechless. Longchen gathered the 12 sea-stabilizing divine pearls back, expression still tense. He stepped to the powder pile, bent down, and picked up a broken dragon scale stained with devilish chi, its sheen dimmed. Aozhan recognized it at a glance. "This is from my Black Dragon clan?" Longchen held the scale between two fingers and looked up toward Tongbai Mountain's cloud-choked summit. There was devilish chi there 100 times stronger than what they'd just faced, and beneath that malevolence, a faint, weak plea for help that belonged to the Dragon Clan. "Seems our clansmen were here before us," Longchen said. He straightened, slipping the scale into his palm. "Let's move. The appetizers are finished." Aozhan's voice carried a hard edge. "The real trouble waits at the mountain's peak," Prime Minister Turtle added. They turned and began to climb. Chapter 26. Tongbai Mountain God, the last cry for help. The three of them continued their ascent. The closer they got to Tongbai Mountain's main peak, the stronger the stench of rot and putrefaction became. Longchen abruptly halted and turned to look at Aozhan. "Aozhan," he said, "do you remember the Azure Dragon Clan that betrayed the West Sea 300 years ago?" Aozhan was momentarily stunned, then gave a bitter nod. "I remember. That old Azure Dragon King was too proud to be cannon fodder for the main force. He ran off with his clan." "The records call it a migration," Longchen replied, "but it was a defection. Everyone thought they had retreated to some remote corner to hide. They didn't hide." Longchen's eyes pierced the black mist swirling around the mountaintop. His voice dropped to a low calm. "They came to Tongbai Mountain." "What?" Aozhan and the Prime Minister Turtle froze on the same beat. "The bloodline distress signal I sensed came from the Azure Dragon Clan," Longchen said softly. "But the signal is already so faint, it could die out any moment." "Then what are we waiting for?" Aozhan snapped, anxiety flaring as his dragon spear hummed. "That's our Dragon Clan bloodline." "It's too late." Longchen shook his head, his face calm and cold. No sooner had his words fallen than the ground beneath them exploded with a rumble. Tongbai Mountain shook violently. From the black mist atop the peak, a torrent of energy poured down, weighty mountain chi, raging water chi, and boundless resentment and pain all coalescing into a terrible roar. From the black vapor, a gargantuan head emerged, mountain-like, pitch black, its stone surface writhing with devilish runes. It had no eyes or nose, only a mouth that took up 2/3 of its face. When that maw opened, row upon row of razor teeth formed a stairway into an abyss. A viscous black ichor dripped between the teeth, corroding the rock into smoking pits. What kind of monster is that?" Aozhan whispered, chill rushing through him. The pressure radiating from it was unmistakably at the level of a grand unity golden immortal. "This isn't a monster," the Prime Minister Turtle said, voice trembling as he pointed to patches on the head where the runes hadn't yet spread. "That's the mountain god of Tongbai Mountain. 300 years ago, when I escorted the envoy to the Qilin clan, I saw him from a distance. He had that same rock-like body." "Mountain god?" Aozhan still couldn't fully process it. "He was devoured," Longchen said, voice cold. Behind the massive mountain head, a dragon-like body thousands of feet long slid out of the mist. The dragon's scales, once verdant, had been corrupted to pure black, covered with pulsating pustules and tumors. 9 bone-like claws jutted from its belly. The mountain head had been grotesquely grafted onto the dragon's neck. Below that colossal mountain head dangled a slightly smaller dragon head. Its eyes burned with black, devilish fire, but Aozhan recognized the dragon's outline. Within that fire there was, fleetingly, pain and pleading. "Azure Dragon King." Aozhan ground his teeth. His eyes went bloodshot with rage. Longchen explained, "The mountain god was the source guardian of the Huai River, the lord of this land. When Rahu's immortal slaughtering sword Chi first infected this place, It began to corrupt him. The Azure Dragon clan came here and encountered the partially demonized mountain god. A great battle followed. The Azure Dragon King struck the mountain god heavily, but he himself was tainted by devilish chi. Under the catalyst of the immortal slaughtering sword chi, the two were forcibly fused into this thing before us. The core binding them is the corrupted underground ley-line spiritual eye. The fused creature fixed its monstrous, eyeless mountain head on them and roared. A black sound wave visibly rippled outward, carrying a putrid stench that corroded the primordial spirit. "Be on guard," the Prime Minister Turtle roared, slamming his dragon head staff into the ground. A magical halo burst forth. The thing responded by thrusting its mountain head forward. Aojan lunged, thrusting his spear. A dragon-shaped current met the sound wave. But when the dragon current struck, it dissolved like spring snow under a blistering sun. The sound wave continued on unchanged. "Profound water turtle shell array," the Prime Minister Turtle cried. He spat out his natal turtle shell. The shell expanded into a gigantic black tortoise phantom that shored them up. The black wave hit the phantom with a corrosive hiss. The shield's light flared wildly and neared collapse. "Prime Minister, I'll go!" Aojan shouted, revealing his 100-jang black dragon true form. He struck toward the creature's head with a claw infused with all the might of his peak Tai golden immortal cultivation, enough to cleave a divine mountain. The monster made no attempt to dodge. The clash rang through the valley like iron on iron. Aojan felt a violent recoil, a backlash of devilish chi and earth force that slammed him backward. The creature merely shook its head and roared. From its maw, it hurled a jet-black torrent aimed straight at Aojan in midair. "Careful! That's not water!" Longchen shouted. Aojan twisted and barely avoided the stream. It struck the mountainside and instantly melted the rock into flowing black magma. "What a hard hide! And its strength is monstrous," Aojan muttered, regaining his footing. "It's connected to the entire ley line of Tongbai Mountain. Its power is endless," the Prime Minister Turtle said as he strained to maintain the array. "If we fight it head-on, we can't outlast it." Long Chen said nothing, watching the creature keenly, its two heads, one enormous and raging, the other smaller and tormented. He finally spoke, calm and decisive. "It's not a single entity." "Your Highness, what do you mean?" the Prime Minister Turtle asked. "The source of its power is the ley line. The madness comes from the immortal slaughtering sword Qi, but its body is the Azure Dragon King and his clansmen," Long Chen said quickly. "It's being controlled by a root, but internally it's not uniform." "Aozan," Long Chen ordered. "Here, use your dragon might to suppress that dragon head. Ignore the mountain head." Though puzzling, Aojan obeyed. His roar rolled through the clouds. Bloodline pressure, the dominance of a high-ranked dragon clan over a low-rank one, became an invisible tidal wave that slammed into the monstrosity. The mountain head hesitated. The smaller Azure Dragon King head writhed, and for a breath, a sliver of clarity broke through its black fire. "It's working." The three of them heard a ragged, broken thought in their minds. "Crown, Prince, save my clan." "Azure Dragon King," Aojan cried, both surprised and overjoyed. The mountain god head sensed the internal resistance and lashed out in fury, smashing the Azure Dragon King head against the mountainside. The fragile clarity was crushed. "It's suppressing the Azure Dragon King's remnant soul," the Prime Minister Turtle cried. Long Chen's eyes narrowed. "This monster has two cores," he said. "One is the immortal slaughtering sword Qi spiritual eye underground, controlling the mountain god. The other is the dragon souls of the Azure Dragon King and his clansmen imprisoned inside the body. They serve as a power source. Therefore, we cannot kill it." Aojan reeled. "Then what can we do? We can't beat it, but we can't kill it." "I'm going to sever its roots," Long Chen said, his gaze ice cold. "The roots lie underground." "Aozan, Prime Minister, hold it off," Long Chen ordered. "Focus your attacks on the dragon body. Use dragon might and spells to stimulate the dragon souls inside to resist and create internal chaos. Under no circumstances let it burrow back underground." "Your Highness, are you going alone?" the Prime Minister Turtle fretted. "The spiritual eye underground must be where the immortal slaughtering sword Qi is strongest." "Don't worry," Long Chen replied. "I'm not going to fight it head-on." A cluster of tiny seals, the 10,000 Dragons seal, blossomed around him, glowing softly. The seals protected his entire body. His figure flickered and merged into the devil-contaminated soil, disappearing beneath the black earth. "Your Highness," the Prime Minister Turtle cried. "Listen to the Crown Prince," he urged Aozan. "Our mission is to hold it." He flung his natal turtle shell into the sky. The black tortoise phantom solidified. Aozan no longer hesitated. His great tail whipped the air and struck not at the mountain head, but at the immense dragon body, smashing into it again and again. Deep underground, silence reigned. Longchen moved swiftly through earth and stone, the 10,000 dragon seal isolating the surrounding violent, corrupt leyline chi. His divine thought had already locked onto the spiritual eye, the source of the Huai River. Ahead lay a vast cavern. At the center, a bottomless spring gaped, spewing viscous, oil-like black ichor. Embedded in its heart was a hair-thin strand of blood-colored sword chi that exuded a murderous aura, potent enough to make Long Chen's chest tighten. This was the immortal slaughtering sword chi that had polluted the Huai River and birthed the abomination. Around the spring, hundreds of azure dragon skeletons lay scattered, long corroded to blackened bone. Faint wails echoed, dragon souls trapped in their bones, incessantly tormented by devilish chi and the tearing sword chi. Their resentment fed the monster above. Long Chen stopped at the cavern entrance. He did not rush in. He knew that trying to suppress the sword chi outright would trigger violent resistance, and that Aozan and the Prime Minister Turtle might not hold. He had to clip its wings first. He sat cross-legged, fingers forming seals, and awakened the golden karma light within his primordial spirit. A soft, majestic halo radiated from him and silently flooded the cavern. Wherever the golden light passed, the viscous, devilish chi dissolved like snow under the sun. The imprisoned azure dragon souls shivered painfully as the poison on them was purified, and one by one, they let out clear, long-lost dragon roars of relief and joy. Translucent azure spirits peeled free from the black bones and circled Long Chen, emitting low, reverent cries. The lead dragon soul bore the strongest aura, the Azure Dragon King. He bowed his proud head deeply to Long Chen. "Thank you, Your Highness the Crown Prince, for your mercy." His voice echoed directly in Long Chen's sea of consciousness. "No need for formality," Long Chen's primordial spirit replied. "Your fate should never have been like this." "We are guilty," the Azure Dragon King said in a dim voice. "It was my greed, my delusion that I could seize Tongbai Mountain, that dragged my clan into this. It led us to become demonic and nearly brought ruin upon all living things. The fault is not yours, but Rahu's," Long Chen said firmly. "You are victims." He looked at the freed dragon souls. "Your grudges have been eased. You should rest and enter reincarnation, but the underworld is not yet established. Reincarnation cannot proceed." "Your Highness need not trouble yourself on our account," the Azure Dragon King said, voice steadying with resolve. "Our true spirits are already damaged. Even if we reincarnate, the result would be uncertain. We are willing to use what remains of our souls to assist Your Highness. We beg Your Highness to grant us this wish." Hundreds of azure dragon souls kowtowed in unison, their combined voices reverberating through the cavern. Long Chen was silent for a long moment, then slowly nodded. "Good," he said. "By the authority of the Dragon Clan's Crown Prince, I grant it." He stood and walked to the corrupt spring, facing the hair-thin strand of blood-colored sword chi that radiated endless destruction. "Today," Long Chen said, his voice carrying an unprecedented gravity through the empty cavern, "I will borrow your dragon souls to do a heaven-defying thing. With your souls as the guide and my karma as the forge," Long Chen continued, "I will not merely suppress this sword chi. What I will do is refine it." Chapter 27, Sacrifice the Dragon Soul and Reshape the Mountain God. "Your Highness, you want to reshape the Mountain God?" The Azure Dragon King's dragon soul trembled violently inside Long Chen's sea of consciousness, his voice trembling with incredulous shock. He was no ordinary spirit. As a former king of his clan, he knew better than anyone the weight of the words, Mountain God. That was the authority of the primordial heaven and earth, the concentrated will of the spiritual veins over a region of land and water, an innate God recognized by heaven and earth. Demonization wasn't mere corruption. It was the complete erasure of a god's karma from the root of the law. To reshape a god that heaven and earth had erased was no longer a divine art. It was openly seizing the creative power of heaven and earth. That's right. Long Chen's voice was steady. Rahula's method is destruction. He planted a cancerous tumor here to spread chaos and fear forever. His gaze dropped to the spiritual spring below, churning with black liquid. My method is rebirth. He destroyed a mountain god. I will return a new mountain god to this heaven and earth. A new god, flowing with my dragon clan's blood, breathing my clan's command, from soul to body, belonging only to my dragon clan. At once, the underground cavern fell into a dead silence. Hundreds of azure dragon souls froze. Even the flames on their soul bodies seemed to still. To usurp the nest, to replace a god with a dragon, was more than audacious. It was to carve out a piece of the primordial world's most fundamental authority map for the Dragon Clan in the most brutal fashion. No! The Azure Dragon King's voice, carrying the origin of his soul, cracked. He was the first to object. Your Highness, this is impossible. Our dragon souls have been tainted by karma. Our true spirits are broken, like rootless driftweed. He shuddered. How can we shoulder the vast, boundless will of Tongbai Mountain's earth veins? I fear we'll be annihilated in an instant. His divine thought betrayed an instinctive fear. Moreover, such a heaven-defying act will surely incur the heavenly Tao's backlash. It is one thing for our souls to fly away and our spirits to scatter, but we absolutely cannot implicate your Highness. Who said you are rootless driftweed? Long Chen cut him off abruptly, his tone carrying an authority that brooked no argument. He flipped his palm, and 12 sea-stabilizing divine pearls orbited him, radiating an ordering power that subdued the heavens. Your roots are with me. Long Chen met the dragon souls, solemn. I need you to sacrifice all your remaining dragon soul origin to me, without reservation, with your will as fuel and your souls as kindling, silence. Sacrifice meant eternal annihilation, the last trace of existence erased. A young dragon soul dared to voice the deepest fear for all of them. Your Highness, after our sacrifice, will we become puppets without self-awareness? Long Chen looked at them openly. Not puppets. Your individual consciousness will dissolve, but under my guidance, your collective will as a clan will fuse with the will of this mountain range, becoming a new, unified will. You will no longer be the Azure Dragon King, no longer individuals. His voice held a fatal indifference toward illusions of self, but it carried an irresistible temptation. You will be the joint dominator of Tongbai Mountain and the source of the Huai River, the Huai River Dragon God. Then you will no longer be wandering spirits, no longer traitors to the Dragon Clan. You will live on forever in another form. He paused, every word striking like a hammer against their most fragile hopes. And your enemy, Rahula, the place of destruction he created, will become a nail he can never pull out. Every breath you take will weaken his power and purify this heaven and earth. This is revenge. Those two words detonated like thunder in the depths of every Azure Dragon soul. Above the Azure Dragon King's broken dragon soul, a brilliant light flared. Rather than having their souls scatter and their spirits dissipate branded as traitors, it was better to fight gloriously one last time, to take vengeance on Rahula, and to be loyal to the Dragon Clan. Your Highness, what about the Heavenly Tao's backlash? The Azure Dragon King asked, still cautious. Long Chen's lips curved into a cold, sharp arc. The Heavenly Tao? It is ruthless, but it has constants. Rahula polluting heaven and earth was for destruction, heaven-defying. I am restoring the water veins and establishing a new god for creation which accords with heaven. The Heavenly Tao is now eager for someone to clean up this mess. It's too late for it to send down punitive karma. Why would it backlash against me? His gaze swept the blackened skeletons. Besides, you are of the Dragon Clan. After death, your souls return to heaven and earth. Now, in the name of the Dragon Clan, to protect a region of land and water, by emotion, by reason, by heaven and earth, and for my Dragon Clan, this is great karma. We understand. The Azure Dragon King's hesitation broke. His fractured soul ignited with resolute brilliance. He bowed deeply to Long Chen, his soul body prostrating. My Azure Dragon Clan is willing to be at the command of His Highness the Crown Prince. We are willing to offer this last wisp of remaining soul for the eternal foundation of the Dragon Clan. We are willing to die for your Highness. We beg your Highness to accept our wish. Hundreds of azure dragon souls roared in unison. Their resolve converged into a torrent that shook the cavern. Good. Long Chen nodded once, approval flashing in his eyes. In the name of the Dragon Clan Crown Prince, I accept. At his command, the hundreds of azure dragon souls ceased their doubt. They transformed into streaks of light and plunged into the 12 sea-stabilizing divine pearls without hesitation. Buzz, the pearls flared. Inside each, vortices of ordering power formed and began to grind and absorb the incoming dragon soul power. Refine. Long Chen's expression turned solemn. He formed seals, and a vast golden karmic light surged from his body, like molten divine gold pouring into the pearls. Within that light, the dragon roars sounded pained yet relieved. Devilish chi, resentment, impurities, even individual emotions and memories were burned away inch by inch in the karmic fire, leaving only the purest dragon soul origin. After a brief moment, the light dispersed. 12 pigeon egg-sized pearls, haloed faintly in gold and with ghostly dragon shadows swirling inside, condensed within the sea-stabilizing divine pearls. The dragon soul origin pearls were complete. Next, clear this place. Long Chen didn't rush to release the origin pearls. He turned to the spiritual spring. What Rahula left behind must be dealt with completely. He stepped before the spring, which gushed viscous, devilish liquid. The 12 sea-stabilizing divine pearls flew up and formed the heaven and earth reversal great array above his head. Reverse heaven and earth, transform evil into origin. His hand seals shifted and the array roared to life. 12 massive blue vortices formed around the spring, generating a terrifying, grinding, purifying force. The oil-like devilish liquid was torn, rolled up, and sucked into the vortices. Under the dual baptism of the pearl's ordering origin and the golden karmic light, the filthy devilish chi was ground to nothing. The power of the water vein origin was purified and condensed into drops of innate heavy water, dripping back into the spring's eye. Stripped of the devilish liquid's nourishment, the core wisp of immortal slaughtering sword chi gave an unwilling shriek and condensed into a blood-red line, about to break through the void and escape. In front of this crown prince, you still want to leave? Long Chen snorted. Too late. The 12 sea-stabilizing divine pearls light merged into a sapphire law cage that locked the blood-red sword chi at its center. Suppress! The cage contracted violently. No matter how the sword chi writhed, it was compressed into a blood-red speck of light no larger than a grain of rice and completely sealed. After completing all of this, Long Chen's face was slightly pale from the effort, but the spiritual spring now brimmed with pure innate heavy water and exhaled fresh vapor. He knew the most crucial step had arrived. In my name, command, return to your positions. His divine thought cast like a net, instantly locking onto 12 main earth vein nodes beneath Tongbai Mountain. Go! The 12 dragon soul origin pearls flared into gold and transformed into beams of light that pierced rock and soil like divine bolts, driving into the depths of the earth veins with precise accuracy. Rumble. Tongbai Mountain, like a giant awakened after billions of years, issued a violent roar that shook heaven and earth. On the peak, the demonic creature entangled with Aojan and Prime Minister Turtle stiffened. The mountain god's rocky giant head emitted a painful bellow as countless cracks spidered across its body, as if something inside was being forcibly peeled away and replaced. Your Highness succeeded. The mountain range's dominator will change. Prime Minister Turtle realized and shouted urgently. Aojan seized the opening. His dragon spear released without restraint, a 100-zang spear light tearing through the void, aiming straight for the head that had once belonged to the Azure Dragon King. Pfft! The spear light pierced the head as if there were nothing there, but Aojan's expression shifted. Empty? From the spear's tip came a hollow, empty sensation. The soul that once occupied that head was already gone. Instantly, the massive demonic creature lost its support. The mountain god's head weathered away inch by inch, the Azure Dragon King's head crumbled to dust, and the enormous dragon body collapsed into a pile of black ash upon the ground. In the cavern, Long Chen looked toward the purified spring and waved his hand. Dragon bones, come. The hundreds of azure dragon skeletons scattered around the cavern leaped up in response, and under the pull of his magic, began to reassemble. Dragon bones formed the frame, and dragon tendons braided the network. Slowly, above the spring, a colossal dragon god skeleton took shape, 1,000 zhang tall, majestic, brimming with the beauty of raw power. Everything is ready, only a heartbeat is missing. Long Chen regarded his palm. He pointed his fingers like a blade and gently swept across his glabella. No wound opened, but a brilliant purple-gold light flared. A single drop of his purest purple-gold dragon blood welled forth. The instant the drop appeared, the entire cavern was bathed in a supreme, noble purple-gold hue. Go, Long Chen flicked his finger. The purple-gold dragon blood became a streak of light and fell accurately into the skeleton's chest cavity. The moment it touched, dong! A muffled but stupendously powerful heartbeat erupted from the skeleton. The blood, like a rising sun, ignited the frame. Countless golden bloodline patterns radiated from the heart and spread along the dragon bones, connecting to the 12 earth vein nodes and to the newly born spiritual spring. A new life was being conceived at an unimaginable speed. On the mountain peak, Aojan and Prime Minister Turtle still reeled in uncertainty when, without warning, Tongbai Mountain erupted in 10,000 zhang of golden light. The golden radiance shot into the sky, dispelling tribulation chi and demonic clouds within 10,000 li. From the depths of the earth, a vast, sacred, dominative, and majestic new will of the Dragon Clan officially awakened. Chapter 28. The gods changed their surnames, and the Dragon Clan's boundary marker appeared. At the peak of Tongbai Mountain, golden light receded like a tide, washing away the last trace of the devilish Qi law. The monstrous remnant, born of entwined resentment and karma, was forcibly erased from this space-time, as if it had never existed. Aojan and Prime Minister Turtle stood frozen, their divine souls still trembling. Beneath their feet, the earth gave out a grand, elemental pulse. It was not a tremor, but breathing, slow, deep, and steady. Boom, boom. A dull, powerful rhythm, like the heartbeat of some ancient colossus, rose from the earth veins and spread through the Tongbai mountain range, reaching out for hundreds of thousands of miles. The mountain had come alive. Rocks did not tumble so much as subtly shift to new angles under a sovereign will. Every inch of soil and every tree quietly reorganized. The earth veins flowed with meticulous purpose. In the void realm, the chains of order belonging to the old Tongbai mountain god disintegrated inch by inch. In their place, new laws, forged from brilliant golden light and carrying the Dragon Clan's unique majesty and domination, hammered themselves into the land. Your Highness, this... Aojan's Adam's apple bobbed violently, the dragon spear in his hand humming as the earth's rhythm nearly shook his grip loose. Prime Minister Turtle did not reply. The dark, profound shell on his back, his innate spirit treasure, flickered with Bagua talismans before emitting a series of fine cracking sounds as clear fissures spread across it. He spat a mouthful of heart's blood, his aura instantly weakening. Still, he pointed with a trembling finger at the breathing earth beneath them. It's not alive. The owner has changed. This mountain, this earth vein, its will, its authority. His voice broke with a mix of terror and awe. Its surname has been changed. Before he finished, a gentle white light enveloped them, insulating their minds from the pressure that could crush a Taiyi golden immortal. Long Chen climbed slowly from underground. His face was pale, a smear of purple gold blood still clung to his lip. The consumption required to forge that heaven-defying creation had cost him more than he had let on. Your Highness! Aojan and Prime Minister Turtle rushed to meet him, eyes blazing with fanatic worship. Stand firm. Long Chen waved them back, his gaze sliding past them to the mountain's crown. Witness the birth of a new god. At his words, the towering main peak rumbled. The 10,000 zhang mountain deformed and reshaped itself with visible speed. Countless rocks and strata moved as if guided by an invisible hand, stacking and sculpting in rapid order. A silhouette of a divine being gradually took form on the summit, an emperor crowned, robed with patterns of mountains and rivers. His face carried a majesty 7 or 8 parts like Long Chen's, but his brows bore the ancient depth of mountains and earth. When the divine statue finished forming, the heartbeat of the Tongbai range abruptly ceased. Silence fell. A new divine Tao law, ordered, vital, suffused with the Dragon Clan's dominion, blanketed the mountain region. The 10,000 zhang divine statue opened its eyes. They were mountain essence stones, pure, emotionless, the indifferent gaze of a deity. Its gaze swept over the reborn forest before finally settling on Longchen. Then the impossible happened. The 10,000 Zhang dragon god, fashioned from the entire mountain range, lowered onto one knee toward Longchen. The genuflection made no thunderous sound, yet for half a beat, the earth veins across the central southern Great Desolation held their breath. A voice grand and majestic, devoid of emotion, yet saturated with reverence, boomed across heaven and earth. Huai River Dragon God greets, honored one. Aojan's mouth fell open and his dragon spear clattered to the ground. He was stunned. Prime Minister Turtle's legs buckled and he collapsed, his lips trembling. God creation? Stealing heaven and earth's authority to forge a god. His Highness the Crown Prince, he truly created a deity, one that answers only to our dragon clan. Rise. Longchen's voice cut the silence. From today on, you shall be the orthodox Huai River Dragon God. You will govern the Tongbai Mountain territory and oversee the hundreds of millions of miles of the Huai River Basin. Your duty is not only to purify devilish qi, but to firmly establish the order of our dragon clan here. Anyone who dares sow chaos in this place, no matter who they are, shall be your enemy. As the honored one commands. The Huai River Dragon God's voice reverberated once more. Then its colossal body slowly dispersed, condensing back into the mountain peak. The sacred, domineering will remained fully merged with the range. Above, the heavenly Tao registered the change. A golden cloud of karma gathered across 10,000 miles and transformed into a shower of light. Longchen poured all his share of karma into the 12 sea-stabilizing divine pearls. Your Highness, Aojan stammered as he picked up his spear, still trembling. This dragon god lord, he is not a subordinate. Longchen turned, his gaze piercing. He is a boundary marker. Boundary marker? Aojan and Prime Minister Turtle froze. Exactly. Longchen's voice steadied. He is the first boundary marker our dragon clan has established on this great desolation continent. He declares that from now on, this land is under the dragon clan's jurisdiction. He is also a magical artifact, a war artifact, with mountains and earth veins as his body. With him here, any petty villain will provoke the thunderous wrath of an entire mountain range. Prime Minister Turtle's whole body trembled as his eyes followed Longchen. His worship had shifted into profound, unwavering loyalty. This His Highness was walking a heaven-defying, domineering path that none of them could have imagined, yet all secretly yearned for. Let's go, Longchen said quietly. Our mission isn't over. We need a place to recover first. The next target is the Hong River water system. Tens of thousands of miles away, a few earthy yellow streams of light shot across the sky and stopped in a mountain valley. Their leader was Mo Xuan, Grand Elder of the Qilin clan, dispatched by Shi Qilin to investigate the source of the water pollution. Stop, Mo Xuan ordered as soon as they landed, signaling his Qilin guards to halt. He looked toward the distant skyline with a grave expression. Grand Elder, what's wrong? A Qilin guard commander asked. Tongbai Mountain lies ahead, the source of the Huai River. The intelligence said devilish qi ravaged it. No life remained. Why is the spiritual qi here? Mo Xuan's voice trailed. It's too pure, he frowned. The closer they approached Tongbai Mountain, the purer the world's spiritual qi became, even carrying the scent of things newly revived, completely contradicting the reports. Something's wrong. Mo Xuan extended a hand and let a wisp of Wudalaw power seep from his palm to touch the ground. Immediately his face changed as if he had touched a red-hot iron, and he snatched his hand back so fast his fingertips trembled. Grand Elder, the guards cried in alarm. This land no longer recognizes me. Mo Xuan's voice was dry and edged with horror. Deep within the law of the place, a powerful, domineering will was imprinted, an aura that fused divine Tao majesty with Dragon Clan hegemony. As a Grand Elder of the Wutu Qilin line, he should have felt affinity with the earth and its veins, but now he felt as if he had offended some slumbering primordial dragon ready to devour intruders. The land repelled him, warned him. Go around, he decided. Approach from the flank. Investigate the Huai River tributaries first. Do not disturb the owner of this place. They crept along the mountain's edge with concealed auras, moving like mortals. They passed countless spirit beasts and immortal birds just reawakening. Strangely, those creatures eyed the intruders not with fear, but with condescension and wary scrutiny. At last, After winding paths, they arrived at the spring that became the newly born Huai River. The Qilin clan members halted. Mo Xuan stared into the spring eye. Each drop, pouring forth, carried innate Renwater qi of a purity far exceeding even the central spiritual spring of the Qilin ancestral land. This is impossible, a guard whispered. How can a spring once polluted by immortal slaughtering sword qi be purified to this degree? This is like recreating the world, another murmured. Mo Xuan probed with his divine thought beneath the spring. Instantly, he felt a vast dragon clan divine will sleeping with the earth veins, breathing as one with them. A more absurd and terrifying thought than any personal intrusion hit him. The mountain god had been replaced. The dragon clan, they didn't merely purify the devilish qi, they turned this place into their own divine kingdom. Demonization could be driven out as an enemy invasion, but being transformed into a deity of the dragon clan signaled mastery of terrifying arts the Qilin could neither comprehend nor imagine. Retreat! Mo Xuan's divine soul screamed. He pulled his subordinates and turned to flee. This place was a forbidden zone, an absolute taboo of the dragon clan. As they moved, an immense, indifferent voice, like thunder from the 9 heavens and the depths of the earth veins at once, spoke. Qilin clan. Mo Xuan looked up. Above the mountaintop, clouds and mist had gathered into an enormous human face, the Huai River dragon god. Its mountain essence eyes looked down coldly at the tiny visitors. Since you have entered the divine domain, why are you in such a hurry to leave? The words landed like boulders on Mo Xuan's heart. This place is the divine domain of the Huai River dragon god, recognized by the heavenly Tao and under the jurisdiction of the dragon clan. Mo Xuan swallowed, forcing calm. I am Mo Xuan, Grand Elder of the Qilin clan, sent by the clan chief to investigate traces of the devils. I have no ill intent. He invoked his clan's name, but the enormous face remained unmoved. Its voice turned cold and inflexibly judicial. Unauthorized entry into a divine forbidden zone, according to our dragon clan's newly promulgated 4Cs code. The voice's tone froze the group. How should it be dealt with? At the peak of Tongbai Mountain, clouds congealed into a vast dragon god's face, coldly gazing down at the Qilin clan intruders at its feet. How should they be dealt with? Those 5 words fell like the will of a mountain, striking Mo Xuan's divine soul, the Grand Elder of the Qilin clan, with crushing force. Dealt with? The thought shuddered through him. He was a dignified elder of the Qilin clan, one of Shi Qilin's highest decision-makers. In all his travels across the Great Desolation, when had anyone dared to talk of dealing with him? Presumptuous! The Qilin guard commander behind Mo Xuan erupted in fury. He could not stomach such interrogation from what he thought a newly promoted mountain god and roared, "The Qilin clan governs the earth, descendants of Pangu. How dare you speak to us like this?" The commander unleashed the coercive aura of a Tai golden immortal, trying to bend the world with the Qilin clan's bloodline authority. But he faced a true god. Within this god's domain, you roar in a public court. The dragon god's voice was calm and immutable, like pronouncing eternal law. Slap him. A low hum of law rippled out. Tongbai Mountain's earth pulse was drawn in, compressed into a point. The Qilin guard commander felt space and time harden around him. A terrifying pull from the ground rooted his primordial spirit in place. In the next instant, a massive palm of mountain rock burst up and swept horizontally across his face. Smack! A thunderous crack echoed through the valley. The Tai golden immortal was flung aside like a pebble. The half of his indestructible face armor and the skull beneath it crumbled to dust. A mouthful of golden Qilin blood and shattered teeth painted a tragic arc through the air. He crashed 100 jang away, his body broken, consciousness gone, aura extinguished. 1 strike. 2 words. A Tai golden immortal crushed as if an insect. The remaining Qilin guards froze, divine souls seized by abject terror. Mo Xuan's roiling anger was extinguished as if dunked into an ancient block of 10,000-year-old ice. A bone-deep cold crawled up from his feet to his celestial spirit and froze the last stubborn sparks of pride and defiance. This was not a contest of spells. It was the enforcement of law. In this domain, renamed and remade, this new god was heaven itself, was law. Your Excellency, who exactly are you? Mo Xuan forced the question, his voice trembling as he strained to find a glimmer of hope in that indifferent face on the mountaintop. I am the Huai River Dragon God. Impossible, Mo Xuan snapped. The old Tongbai mountain god had no deep ties with my clan, but his origins were clear. He was certainly not of the dragon clan. For the first time, the dragon god's voice carried judgment. The old god neglected his duties, allowing demonic corruption to fester in the earth. His divine position was abandoned by the heavenly Tao. This place now belongs to the dragon clan. Mo Xuan's last hope crumbled. The dragon clan had somehow completed a terrifying rite to change a god, something beyond his imagination. He glanced at his unconscious subordinate, then back at the impassive face above. All possibilities of rescue evaporated. Your Excellency, what do you intend? His tone shifted, no longer defiant but pleading, ready to accept any terms. From the forested path, a lazy, calm voice floated over. It is not what he intends. It is what the rules intend. Mo Xuan turned. 3 figures emerged slowly from the clouded trail. A young man in a plain white robe with an otherworldly bearing, a fierce general armed with a spear, and an old man leaning on a dragon-headed staff whose aura ran as deep as the sea. The young man spoke. Your Highness, the Crown Prince. Prime Minister Turtle and Ao Zhan bowed immediately, reverence pouring from their souls. The name struck Mo Xuan like thunder. Long Chen, the Crown Prince of the Dragon Clan. He was the one who had orchestrated the Dragon Clan's withdrawal and remained aloof while the Phoenix and Qilin clans bled each other dry. He had been watching from the abyss, fattening on the blood and evil qi. So it was you. Mo Xuan ground his teeth. Burning anger flared in his eyes. Long Chen barely glanced at him. He merely inclined his head slightly toward the dragon god above. Well done. It conforms to the rules. The dragon god's cloud-formed head slowly bowed toward Long Chen. Reverence plain between creator and creator's hand. Like a giant hammer, that sight struck Mo Xuan hard. This new god, whose aura rivaled a grand unity golden immortal and had crushed a Taiyi with a flick, was merely the crown prince's creation. You Qilin clan, trespassing into a newly enfeoffed god domain under my dragon clan's protection, what is your purpose? Ao Zhan stepped forward, shouldering his dragon spear, his gaze cold as a blade. Mo Xuan swallowed his fury and forced the words out. We are here by the clan chief's order to investigate the source of the devilish qi pollution and to eliminate the danger to the great desolation. He emphasized, eliminate the danger, trying to claim moral high ground. Oh? Have you finished investigating? Long Chen finally looked at Mo Xuan, as unruffled as if inspecting a roadside stone. Mo Xuan stammered. Long Chen answered for him, still calm. It seems you have. The source of the devilish qi has already been conveniently resolved by my dragon clan. When it comes to eliminating the danger to the great desolation, your Qilin clan has arrived one step too late. A playful curve touched Long Chen's mouth. However, courtesy is courtesy. My dragon clan has resolved the problem, a favor noted. But you, intruding without permission into a god's forbidden domain under my protection, have broken the rules. Long Chen walked up to Mo Xuan. Though not as tall or as solid as the elder, the pressure he exuded made Mo Xuan feel as if Tongbai Mountain itself pressed down on him, making breath a struggle. My dragon clan's newly promulgated 4 Seas code extends our authority over the 4 Seas. Now that a god enfeoffed by my dragon clan stands here, recognized by the heavenly Tao, this domain is an extension of my code. Elder Mo Xuan, will you disarm and return with us to the East Sea Crystal Palace as a witness to our investigation of the devilish qi contamination? Or shall I let this newly appointed Huai River Dragon God invite you in his own manner? Mo Xuan's face changed violently. Go with them? He, the Grand Elder of the proud Qilin clan, being summoned away under the guise of witnessing an investigation? If the world learned of this, where would the Qilin clan's prestige be? Yet at the same time, the great will of Tongbai Mountain had already locked onto him, ready to crush. Any attempt to force a way out would mean total annihilation. Long Chen, Mo Xuan's roar was a wounded beast's low snarl. Don't push your luck. My clan is entangled in a bloody war with the Phoenix clan, and your dragon clan reaps the benefits. Our clan chief hasn't settled accounts with you. If you harm me today, it will be an act of war against the Qilin clan. Declare war? Long Chen laughed, open and hearty. Elder Mo Xuan, perhaps you still haven't grasped the situation. Aren't you and the Phoenix clan already at war? What difference would one more clan make? Moshuan's smile died as Long Chen's gaze deepened like an abyss. Besides, I'm not declaring war. I am enforcing the law. I will count to three. 3. A cold pronouncement. Tongbai Mountain's law tightened like a vice. Moshuan felt the bones of his Qilin groan as if they would shatter. 2. Cold sweat dripped from Moshuan's temples. He knew that when Long Chen finished the count, when he reached 1, Tongbai Mountain would disintegrate him utterly. In the last instant before his divine soul collapsed, Moshuan forced out 3 words. We'll go with you. The Qilin guards behind him went pale and bowed their heads. Very good. A wise man yields to circumstance. Long Chen snapped his fingers in satisfaction. Huai River Dragon God, escort Elder Moshuan and his subordinates to the separate courtyard down the mountain and keep them secure. Before I leave, without my order, not even a fly may escape. Yes, your reverence's decree. The dragon god's face dispersed. The ground under Moshuan and his men softened like quicksand. Great hands of earth and stone rose, gentle yet irresistible, lifting them and the unconscious Qilin guard despite all resistance. They were carried steadily toward a palace that had already risen at the mountain's base. Having dealt with the Qilin clan, Long Chen turned to Ao Zhan and Prime Minister Turtle. Pack up. The Huai River is settled. Next, the Hong River water system. No sooner had the words left his mouth did all 3 of them stiffen and look to the western sky. No terrifying aura descended, no destructive blow came. Instead, a jet-black, devilish qi burst up into the heavens and exploded above the 9 heavens. The surge formed a gigantic demonic curtain that spread across the southern central sky of the Great Desolation. Light and shadow rippled across the curtain, and a chillingly clear image began to take shape. It showed the majestic Huai River Dragon God, the Qilin Guard Commander flung aside, the scene of Moshuan and the others being seized by earth hands and dragged away like prisoners. A voice, deliberately disguised with manufactured compassion and rage, boomed from the demonic curtain across the Great Desolation. Let the myriad spirits of the Great Desolation bear witness. The Dragon Clan's ambition is blatant. It steals powers from the demonic path, forges mountain gods, and creates evil gods to serve itself. It uses these evil gods to act brazenly, imprisoning a Qilin clan elder. The war between the Phoenix and Qilin clans is heaven and earth's tribulation. Yet the Dragon Clan acts perversely, attempting to dominate the Great Desolation. How is this any different from the deeds of demons? May all fellow Taoists in the Great Desolation join in condemnation. The image froze on Moshuan's humiliated, unwilling face and lingered for a long time. In the demonic palace on Mount Sumeru to the west, Rahu watched the magic mirror with a cold, cruel smile. On Tongbai Mountain, Ao Zhan trembled with rage. Despicable, shameless. Rahu twists black and white. Prime Minister Turtle's face was grim. He performed divinations again and again, but the heavenly signs were in utter chaos, obviously disrupted by Rahu's powerful magic. Only Long Chen watched the demonic curtain in silence. The composure on his face finally fell away, replaced by a razor-sharp edge. After the overt scheme, then comes the attack on the heart, he murmured, his voice low but steady. Ao Zhan and Prime Minister Turtle stilled at once. Rahu, your game is well played, Long Chen said softly, but you chose the wrong opponent. Chapter 30, Luohao, you are finally here. Your Highness, this... Ao Zhan's voice trembles with urgency. Right now, all living beings across the Great Desolation see our Dragon Clan as walking the demonic path. The Phoenix and Qilin clans will likely turn their spears and join forces against us. Against us? Long Chen suddenly laughs, soft and detached as if watching a chess match. Are they worthy? His gaze sweeps over the temporary courtyard at the foot of the mountain where Moshuan, the Grand Elder of the Qilin clan, and others are imprisoned. Their faces are pale with grief and terror as they look up at the giant demonic screen in the sky. Luohao's move is vicious, someone mutters. He's not just sowing discord, he's using lies to sever everyone's ability to think, another adds. He wants Shi Qilin and Yuan Feng to believe the Dragon Clan is the tribulation's greatest threat, forcing them to stop fighting and unite to besiege the East Sea. Then the Dragon Clan will be forced to fight and dragged back into the quagmire. And Luohao? He can sit comfortably on Mount Sumeru and drain the last drops of blood from the 3 clans. A cold sweat beads under Prime Minister Turtle's shell. Then what can we do? Right now, we can't explain ourselves. Explain. Long Chen walks step by step toward the courtyard. Why explain? Luo Hao kills with lies, so this crown prince will use facts to strike his heart. The corners of Long Chen's mouth harden into a cold line. Doesn't he like putting on a show before the entire Great Desolation? Fine, this crown prince will personally step onto the stage and outshine him. Ao Zhan, Prime Minister Turtle, your subordinate is here. They bow in unison, hearts pounding. Activate the 10,000 Dragons seal. Use the supreme luck of our East Sea Dragon clan as the guide. In the name of this crown prince, emulate Luo Hao. Open a water mirror profound light covering the East continent for this crown prince. This crown prince will personally tell all living beings of the Great Desolation the truth. Moments later, just as the masses are loudly condemning the demonic screen and roaring with righteous indignation over the Qilin clan's imprisonment, the eastern sky explodes with light. A vast, profound light, broader than the heavens and brighter than the sun, surges upward. It is a boundless golden mirror, coiled with 10,000 dragons and steaming with purple qi, exuding an imperial dignity that occupies the other half of the sky. One black, one gold, the two heavenly screens split the central and southern heavens of the Great Desolation, creating a spectacle unmatched in history. A public opinion war spanning the entire continent has begun. All eyes turn upward in astonishment. The Dragon Clan, are they really challenging Luo Hao before everyone? Before the crowd can recover, Long Chen's clear, majestic voice, as if infused with the Tao itself, resounds through the golden water mirror and reaches every corner of the Great Desolation. Luo Hao, old devilhead, you distort black and white and seek to overturn the Great Desolation with a killing tribulation. Your heart deserves punishment. Today, before all living beings of the Great Desolation, this crown prince will expose your true colors. On the golden water mirror, the image shifts. Mo Xuan, the Qilin clan's grand elder, appears in his courtyard, face ashen. He watches Long Chen approach with humiliation and anger in his eyes. Long Chen walks up and addresses him in a voice that carries to every ear through the mirror. Elder Mo Xuan, I ask only one question. Did your Qilin clan come to Tongbai Mountain to investigate the source of the demonic corruption? Mo Xuan clenches his jaw and looks away, silent. It's all right if you won't speak, Long Chen says. Facts will speak for you. He flicks his hand and the water mirror changes again. The scene shows the Huai River basin, once contaminated by immortal slaughtering sword qi, life withered, the land desolate. A demonic tiger transformed into an incubator for demonic soldiers, tentacles writhing inside its abdomen, swarms of demonized beetles bursting from corpses and blotting out the sky. Each horrifying image sends shudders through the divine souls of the living who watch. This is ironclad proof of Luo Hao's demonic corruption of the land. Long Chen's words roll like thunder. He used immortal slaughtering sword qi to sever the water veins of the Great Desolation, demonize living beings, and turn this beautiful land into an endless demonic realm. Before his voice stops, the scene shifts again. Long Chen, Ao Zhan, and Prime Minister Turtle appear traveling upstream, offering the sea-stabilizing divine pearl. The pearl's ordered divine light suppresses and purifies ferocious demonic creatures one by one. Finally, the view freezes deep within Tongbai Mountain's earth vein, a blood-colored sword qi of destruction impaled at the vein's core. All living beings of the Great Desolation witness this, Long Chen calls. The source of the demonic corruption is nothing else, the immortal slaughtering sword qi of the demonic ancestor, Luo Hao. Countless ancient presences hidden across the realm, from Kunlun Mountain to Jade Capital Mountain to Phoenix Perch Mountain, narrow their eyes. That unique law of destruction, that overbearing, unmatched intent of slaughter, cannot be faked. It is truly immortal slaughtering sword qi. So, Luo Hao is the culprit polluting the water veins, someone gasps. The Dragon Clan Crown Prince is actually eradicating demons for the Great Desolation? The scales begin to tip dramatically. But Long Chen is not done. His voice softens, tinged with compassion as he surveys the multitude. The former god of Tongbai Mountain and the Azure Dragon Clan, who mistakenly entered, were corrupted by demonic qi until they were no longer themselves, turned into demonic beasts. I could not bear to let them be lost forever, so I purified them. But a region cannot be without a deity for even a day. The Huai River Basin especially needs someone to tend its waters and protect it. So this crown prince, by supreme power of will, reshaped the mountain god and re-established the divine position. The water mirror zooms out to reveal the whole peak of Tongbai Mountain. There stands the newly born Huai River Dragon God, a 1,000-jiang divine body towering between heaven and earth, exuding vast divine might. Then, boom, 10,000 jiang of karmic golden light erupts from the dragon god, shooting into the sky and dyeing half the heavens a pure, sacred gold. That vast, supreme aura, recognized and rewarded by the heavenly Tao, flows through the water mirror to every living being as unmistakable heavenly Tao karma. If consecrating a new god were a demonic path act, how could heaven itself bestow such a prodigious reward? In the blinding glow of heavenly Tao karma, Luohao's lies collapse into absurdity. "I've wronged the dragon clan. This is not an evil god, it's a righteous god of karma," cries one. "Luoho, that old devil, cunning and malicious, I was almost deceived." On Mount Sumeru in the west, within the demonic palace, Luohao stares at the golden karma light in his demonic mirror as though mocked. A rebel fury seizes him. Black demonic blood sprays from his mouth, and his face contorts into a hideous mask. "Long Chen!" he roars. His psychological gambit, his open conspiracy, has been slapped back on the grandest stage. He failed to make Long Chen a public enemy. Instead, he accuses himself of demonic corruption of the land and sowing discord while painting the Dragon Clan as saviors. Luohao's composure collapses. Back on Tongbai Mountain, bathed in the awestruck gazes of countless living beings, Long Chen turns to the trembling Mo Xuan. "Elder Mo Xuan, now will you speak a few words of justice to the living beings of the Great Desolation?" Mo Xuan's body shakes. He has no choice but to lift his head and, facing the golden mirror, roar hoarsely, "I, the Qilin clan, thank His Highness, the Dragon Clan Crown Prince, for clearing the demonic corruption and saving the Huai River, and for returning a clear and bright universe to the Great Desolation." Those words become a final verdict. Luohao's black demonic screen quakes and begins to crack like some fragile shell. "This Crown Prince said I would strike at your heart." Long Chen looks up as the demonic screen shudders on the verge of collapse. "Luohao, your schemes are worthless in the face of this Crown Prince." Boom! The demonic screen shatters into nothingness. But as it dissolves, something else descends from beyond the 9 heavens, a pure will of destruction, transcending law and Tao, roaring down. Its target is not a person but one thing, the Huai River Dragon God, newly purified and consecrated. Shamed and furious at his failure, Luohao cannot tolerate Long Chen's boundary marker, the symbol of victory and order, standing in the Great Desolation. If his scheme failed, he will erase the evidence. He will obliterate the achievement. Not good. Prime Minister Turtle loses all color. Luohao is going to personally obliterate the new god. "Aojan, Prime Minister Turtle, protect the mountain god's true body and the earth vein's spiritual eye," Long Chen orders. The will descends. Tongbai Mountain and its newborn god cry out under the unbearable pressure. The mountain trembles. Vegetation that had just recovered withers into ash in visible moments. The clear source of the Huai River begins to darken again. "Your Honor, the will of a supreme devil head has descended," the Huai River Dragon God bellows into Long Chen's sea of consciousness, terror for the first time creeping into its voice. "Hold your divine position's origin. Hold the earth vein's spiritual eye." "I'll deal with him," Long Chen shouts. The sky darkens and a figure appears, floating silently. He wears a simple black robe and has an unremarkable face like an ordinary scholar, but his eyes cut through space and land on Long Chen with cold amusement. "Interesting," he says in a hoarse voice that carries a demonic quality across time. "I thought a small bug had stolen some of my bait. I didn't expect you to overturn my pot and plant your own flag in my grain field." He is Luohao, a powerful incarnation of the demonic ancestor, whose rampages have scarred the Great Desolation. Aojan unleashes an earth-shattering roar. His 100-jiang black dragon true body erupts with battle intent and shields Long Chen. Prime Minister Turtle raises his life-bound shell, its surface already spidered with cracks, to protect them as the Xuanwu Phantom roars with solemn terror. A mere Dragon Clan Crown Prince colludes with that old Xuanwu to ruin my grand karma plan? Luo Hao's gaze sweeps over Long Chen, inspecting him like an interesting specimen. You can even usurp heaven and earth to consecrate a false god who only obeys you. Long Chen, is it? Ancestral dragon, that idiot, couldn't have sired a son like you. Tell me, who exactly are you? From which chaos epoch? Luo Hao's eyes seem to peer all the way into Long Chen's soul and origin. Long Chen's stomach drops. He knows. Luo Hao has seen his greatest secret. Words feel hollow. Who I am is not important, Long Chen says, swallowing the turmoil and meeting Luo Hao's abyssal gaze. What's important is that you must not, by any means, set your eyes on my dragon clan. Luo Hao laughs, laughter that cracks the rocks of Tongbai Mountain. Dragon clan? A race that should have turned to dust in the tribulation. Are they worthy of bargaining with me? His laughter dies, and absolute cold and nihilism fill his eyes. You ruined my Tao. Today, no one can save you. He lifts a finger. A strand of black light, finer than a hair and deeper than night, condenses at its tip. Roar! The Huai River dragon god howls, mobilizing Tongbai Mountain's earth vein power to the limit. A giant mountain hand of rock rises, covering the sky and slamming toward Luo Hao. A glow the size of a grain of rice, Luo Hao sneers, barely looking at it. Dare to contend for brilliance? The black light at his fingertip trembles once, and the giant hand, condensed from the mountain's entire power, disintegrates inch by inch into primitive dust. The Huai River dragon god groans in pain. His connection to the earth vein has been severed by a mere glance of that destructive true intent. Crown Prince, leave, now, Prime Minister Turtle croaks. His shell has already spidered with fissures, bearing unbearable pressure. Leave? Luo Hao fixes his gaze on Long Chen. Though the great desolation is vast, today you have nowhere to go. He flicks his finger. The black ray of ultimate destructive intent slips forward soundlessly. It has no thunderous blast, only the function of erasure. Wherever it passes, space collapses, time freezes, and everything visible and invisible loses its right to exist, reduced to nothing. Long Chen's primordial spirit screams. A fear from the deepest origin chills him. He cannot block it. Even offering the 12 sea-stabilizing divine pearls to form a formation will not stop this. This is the killing intent of a supreme at the perfection of grand unity golden immortal, a being who has stood at the threshold of a quasi-saint. His Highness, the Crown Prince, someone cries. The black line is almost at Long Chen's glabella when a tremendous, tragic dragon roar tears through the clouds. Aojan's 100-zhang black dragon true body transforms into a resolute black lightning bolt and, without hesitation, throws himself between the attack and Long Chen, using his flesh and blood, using his supreme glory as a dragon clan general, to block it. Aojan, come back! Long Chen's roar is a broken thing, his eyes instantly turning blood red, but it is too late. The black destructive light met no resistance. It sliced through Aojan's dragon physical body as if it were paper. There was no cataclysmic explosion, no gory spectacle. Long Chen watched with his own eyes as Aojan's vast black dragon true form, beginning where the light struck, disintegrated inch by inch into dust. It was not death in the ordinary sense, it was annihilation. From his indestructible scales to his ever-flowing dragon blood, from his mighty physical body to the primordial spirit of the dragon clan, every trace of Aojan's existence was utterly, cleanly erased from this world by that faint black line. Aojan's enormous head, with its last reserves of strength, turned back. The battle intent that had always burned in his eyes was gone. Only pure affection and reluctance remained for Long Chen. He tried to speak, to call out, "Your Highness," one last time, but no sound came. A final thought, transcending life and death, echoed directly into Long Chen's sea of consciousness. Crown Prince, Your Highness, to die, fighting, for you, is my, Aojan's honor. The Dragon Clan, I entrust to you. Live on. Like a candle guttering in the wind, the thought suddenly winked out. Aojan's entire body turned to flying ash and scattered in the gusts sweeping across the Tongbai Peak. Not even a trace of his true spirit remained. Every possibility of reincarnation severed. He was gone. The battle general, who had followed the Crown Prince with unshakable loyalty, who had made guarding him his highest honor and treated his orders as sacred, had been utterly annihilated before Long Chen's eyes. Long Chen's mind went blank. A silence he had never known wrapped his divine soul, as if even his thoughts had stopped. Then, from the deepest part of him, a cold, raging fury erupted, shredding whatever composure and calculation he had left. This was not a game, not a chess match. This was bloody, mortal reality. A loyal guard, quite rare indeed. Rahu's voice was flat, pulling Longchen back from the brink. The demon looked at him with amused eyes, as if inspecting the expression that had shifted from shock and pain to pure hatred. Unfortunately, he's dead, and you won't live either. Rahu raised a finger. A thin black line, the same mark of annihilation, slowly condensed at the fingertip. Rah! Longchen roared, a sound no longer wholly human and torn raw in his throat. His eyes went blood-red, not with magic, but with a murderous frenzy that seemed almost tangible. Today, if I do not die, he spoke each word like a blood-red oath carved into his divine soul. In the future, I will eradicate your Mount Sumeru and your demonic path from this great desolation. Rahu chuckled, cruel and low. Such big words. Too bad you won't have a future. The black line at his fingertip had already taken shape, its aura making the entire Tongbai range wail. Even the laws recoiled. Your Highness! Prime Minister Turtle cried out in despair, tears streaming down his face as he shut his eyes, unable to watch any longer. It was all over. But just as Rahu prepared to unleash the annihilating strike, Longchen's madness receded as suddenly as it had flared. In its place came an older, more fearsome calm, icy, ancient, terrible. Rahu, he murmured, you want to kill me? His voice was quiet, yet it cut through Rahu's attention like steel. Then Longchen did the unthinkable. He did not defend, did not dodge. He spread his arms and embraced death. Deep within his sea of consciousness, the golden ocean of immeasurable karma, the karma he had accumulated by purifying the four seas and bestowing titles upon dragon gods, began to burn with unprecedented fury. In the name of me, the Dragon Clan Crown Prince, and guided by the future luck of the Dragon Clan, Longchen cried, burn my immeasurable karma, consult the heavenly heart. Heavenly Tao above. Rahu, you bully the weak, pervert the heavenly secrets, block living beings from achieving Tao through karma, and seek to destroy the world with a killing tribulation. Can such an act be tolerated by heaven and earth? Boom! 12 sea-stabilizing divine pearls erupted from Longchen's body and circled him. No longer azure, they were dyed a blinding, pure gold by the frenzied flames of karma. The 12 innate spirit treasures did not form a killing array. They spun in an unfathomable trajectory and actually became an altar connecting heaven and earth. Longchen stood at its center. He used himself as the sacrifice, his immeasurable karma as the offering, and the Dragon Clan's luck as collateral, summoning the heavenly Tao itself to judge Rahu. This was not a mutual death pact. It was an attempt to drag Rahu into heaven's court. Rahu's mocking smile vanished for the first time, replaced by shock and fury. He did not fear the burning karma itself. That amount of power could not even scratch him. What terrified him was what Longchen had done. He had overturned the rules. He had forced the heavenly Tao, which had not fully awakened and only acted by its own remorseless laws, to intervene prematurely. The world trembled. Above the 9 heavens, winds and clouds shifted color as profound yellow chi swelled out of nothing. A vast, majestic, impersonal will began to awaken, its gaze piercing time and space to fall upon Tongbai Mountain. The black line at Rahu's fingertip, capable of erasing a grand unity golden immortal, quivered under that gaze, becoming unstable. Rahu's face drained of color. He stared at the crown prince burning on that golden altar, body bent in pain but eyes blazing with terrible light. Madman, this Longchen was a lunatic, willing to burn all his karma and stake the Dragon Clan's luck. If his karma were exhausted, his future Tao path would be strewn with thorns. If the Dragon Clan's luck were damaged, the consequences would be irreversible. Good, what a crown prince of the Dragon Clan. Rahu's fury curdled into laughter. As the pressure of the heavenly Tao grew heavier, his murderous intent surged. He could still kill Longchen before heaven's punishment arrived, but doing so would bury Rahu in immeasurable karma for blocking one who sought Tao through karma, and might even invite the wrath of heaven, ruining his own ambitions. An ant in the Tai golden immortal realm could not afford that. Longchen, Rahu's voice was the chill of 10,000 winters. Do you think this will make this venerable one retreat? This venerable one cannot kill you today. He slowly withdrew his finger. The black line dissolved. The heavenly Tao's gaze lifted and receded. Long Chen's body sagged. He nearly collapsed. The searing pain of burning karma shook his divine soul, yet he remained upright, blood-red eyes fixed on Rahu. "But your death is at hand," Rahu added, a vicious pleasure flashing in his demonic eyes. "I will personally announce to the great desolation that you, Long Chen, crown prince of the Dragon Clan, provoked the heavenly Tao to survive, causing the great tribulation to descend prematurely. All living beings will die because of you. Do you like karma? I will heap upon you the greatest karma in heaven and earth. I will make the Dragon Clan the public enemy of the great desolation. You and the Dragon Clan behind you will be torn apart bit by bit in endless despair and pain." With those words, Rahu dissolved into a wisp of black smoke and vanished, leaving his poisonous curse echoing across the Tongbai Peak. Long Chen could no longer stand. He spat a mouthful of purple-gold dragon blood and dropped to one knee. The 12 sea-stabilizing divine pearls dimmed and flew back into his body. 7/10 of the golden karma that had filled his sea of consciousness had been consumed. "Your Highness!" Prime Minister Turtle scrambled forward to support him, voice trembling. Long Chen ignored him and reached with a trembling hand, trying to gather a handful of the dust still drifting where Ao Zhan had been. There was nothing to grasp. From Long Chen's crimson eyes, 2 lines of blood tears slowly fell. Chapter 32. Heaven is moved. Honghuang appears. Long Chen fell to one knee, his purplish-gold dragon blood splattering across the scorched earth of Tongbai Mountain. The golden ocean of karma in his sea of consciousness had already been consumed by 70%. What remained was dim and lifeless. The burning karma bit into his divine soul with agonizing ferocity, yet he braced himself on his spear and refused to collapse. "Your Highness!" Prime Minister Turtle crawled over, half dragging himself, and hauled the staggering man into his arms, his voice choked with sobs. Long Chen said nothing. He reached out with trembling fingers toward the ashes hanging in the air. Just moments ago, a living, loyal Dragon Clan warrior had stood there, but his hand closed on nothing. 2 streaks of bloody tears ran down his bloodshot face. Silence spread over the mountaintop. Rahu had departed. His cruel curse still echoed faintly, but what chilled everyone more was the dead stillness that followed. Prime Minister Turtle could only cling to Long Chen and weep. The Huai River Dragon God stood silently to the side, his newborn divine body still scarred and cracked from Rahu's assault. He could sense the volcanic sorrow and rage coiled in Long Chen's chest, a heat that seemed capable of scorching heaven and earth. Then the summit shivered. The sky, just beginning to quiet, rippled as if struck by an invisible hand, and a figure stepped out from the center of the undulation. He wore a simple gray Taoist robe. His hair and beard were entirely white. His face was empty of expression, his eyes still as an ancient well. To look at him was to look at ages itself, at the chaos before heaven and earth took shape. The moment he appeared, the whole of Tongbai Mountain, indeed the time-space of the entire eastern continent of the Great Desolation, seemed to freeze. The wind halted, clouds hung motionless, and even the tears on Prime Minister Turtle's cheeks paused mid-fall. Only Long Chen could barely move his eyelids, a faint, lingering connection between the smoldering embers of karma within him and the heavenly Tao allowed the tiniest motion. This old Taoist's presence was more terrifying than Rahu's had been. Rahu had been naked destruction and arrogance. This man embodied nothingness, rule, and incomprehensible law. He did not glance at the crowd. His gaze first lingered on the spot where Ao Zhan had turned to ashes, paused on the Huai River Dragon God, and finally settled on Long Chen. Using oneself as a sacrifice, burning karma as fire, invoking the Dragon Clan's luck, and accusing the heavenly Tao, the old Taoist said. His voice was neither loud nor emotional, yet it sounded like the voice of the heavenly Tao itself, striking directly at Long Chen's and Prime Minister Turtle's primordial spirits. An interesting little fellow. Long Chen felt his heart tighten. The old Taoist had just described word for word what he had done. "Senior is?" His voice was hoarse. Pain lanced through his divine soul. The old man did not answer. He extended a single finger and pointed in Long Chen's direction. A mysterious, unfathomable aura washed over him. Long Chen tried instinctively to activate the 10,000 Dragon Seal to resist, but the power inside him disobeyed. He could only watch as the aura flowed through him, into his limbs, bones, primordial spirit, sea of consciousness, and then withdrew. In that instant, every secret within him, from outward to inward, past to present, felt revealed. So that's how it is. The old Taoist lowered his finger, and for the first time a faint ripple disturbed his tranquil eyes. Not a creature of this epoch. No wonder. No wonder he could see through Rahu's trick and even set his own counter. Long Chen's mind spun. His greatest secret, being a transmigrator, had been seen at a glance. He opened his mouth, but no words came. "You needn't panic," the old Taoist said flatly. "This old Taoist has no interest in your origins. Beyond chaos, there are 3,000 worlds. Anomalies are not unheard of." He paused, then changed his tone, still impassive. "But you should not have disrupted the game." "The game?" Long Chen laughed, coughing up blood. "Are all living beings merely pawns to be moved? Are only you high-handed players allowed to decide who lives and who dies? Aojan, my guard, was he a pawn?" Long Chen's bloodshot eyes bore into the old man. Silence answered him for a long moment. Then the old Taoist spoke slowly. "Tribulation is an inevitability of heaven and earth. When evil qi accumulates and karma tangles, only a great tribulation can cleanse and allow new life to take root. The struggle among the three clans is the system's chosen response to this sorting." "Your appearance is a variable," he went on. "You allowed the Dragon Clan to avoid the tribulation and to hoard karma, disrupting the heavenly Tao's process of reckoning. So I should simply watch my clansmen be driven like livestock to some altar, sacrificed for your so-called cleansing?" Long Chen spat, voice thick with contempt. "You speak of an impartial heavenly Tao. Those who follow it prosper, those who defy it perish." "That is the law," the old Taoist replied without heat. "But impartiality is not kindness." Long Chen propped himself up, forcing his body straighter. "I don't care about heavenly Tao trends. I know one thing. Anyone who wants to destroy my Dragon Clan, I will flip their chessboard." "You already flipped it once," the old Taoist said, his gaze deep and unreadable. "You accused Rahu, forced the heavenly Tao's will to awaken early, and pushed Rahu into retreat, but in doing so, you accelerated the tribulation into chaos. Rahu will pin all of this on you, on the Dragon Clan," he warned. "He will say you started the tribulation." "So what?" Long Chen sneered. "You do care." The old Taoist shook his head. "If you carry the karma of igniting the tribulation, your karma Tao will be severed. The Dragon Clan will become every clan's public enemy. Peace will be a memory." Long Chen fell silent. He had known the truth of those words. "You are an interesting variable, but a dangerous one," the old Taoist continued. He raised his hand slowly. "The tribulation must return to its proper course. It is time for you to rest." "Are you going to kill me?" Long Chen tightened his grip on his spear. "Killing me would only incur greater karma." This time the old man shook his head. "I will not kill you. I am inviting you to a place where you can quietly watch the grand play unfold." With that, he waved his palm toward Long Chen. There were no earth-shattering power fluctuations, no cataclysmic display, only a blurring at the edge of Long Chen's vision. The world around him began to distort, stretching and twisting like reflections on troubled water. Prime Minister Turtle stared in horror as Long Chen's form grew transparent, then was drawn by an unseen force into a chaos-colored vortex that had suddenly appeared. "Your Highness!" Prime Minister Turtle cried, longing to rush forward, but his body refused to obey. Long Chen turned his head and gave him one last look. Fear was absent from his eyes. Only a cold calm remained. He mouthed 3 words to the Prime Minister. "Wait for me." The vortex vanished. Long Chen's figure was gone. The old Taoist cast one more glance at the mountaintop, as if peering through the endless void, his gaze meeting Rahu's somewhere on Mount Sumeru. Then his body too began to fade, dissolving from sight. The restraints on heaven and earth lifted. The wind sighed back into motion. Tears finally slipped down Prime Minister Turtle's face as he flung himself onto the spot where Long Chen had disappeared, weeping bitterly. "Your Highness! Your Highness!" Chapter 33, 10,000 Years of Imprisonment, The Sorrow of the Dragon Clan. Long Chen found himself in a strange empty place. There was no up or down, no left or right, no sun, moon, or stars. No spiritual qi, no laws, so much as the concepts of time and space were blurred. It was a realm of absolute nothingness. Is this Hongjun's method? Long Chen sat cross-legged, his face calm. Before he had been pulled in, he had already guessed the identity of that old Taoist. Who else but Hongjun, the future Tao ancestor, who would fuse with the heavens and steer the great trends of the primordial world, could possess a method so profound that even the heavenly secrets could not detect it. Hongjun had not killed him. He had imprisoned him. The purpose was simple. Long Chen was a disobedient chess piece, always trying to play his own game. Hongjun had simply removed him from the board, so he would be forced to watch events unfold along their intended path. Long Chen tried to activate the 12 sea-stabilizing divine pearls within his body. They shot out, painting the void with a deep blue glow as they attempted to stabilize a space. But wherever their light touched, it remained nothing. The pearl's stabilizing law had nothing to act upon here. He then called forth the 10,000 Dragons seal. The Dragon Clan's luck treasure cried out, radiating golden light as it tried to summon the clan's luck and tear open the cage. It was useless. His luck connection with the Dragon Clan had been completely severed. What a method, truly worthy of Hongjun. Long Chen retracted the magic treasure, but was not discouraged. With his current strength, trying to break out of a cage personally placed by Hongjun would be a fool's dream. Anger and anxiety would change nothing. Hongjun wanted him to be a spectator as the Dragon Clan marched toward destruction. You want me to despair and accept my fate? Long Chen's eyes went cold. Hongjun, you underestimate me. He had been given time, a totally safe, undisturbed environment. For someone who needed seclusion for cultivation, this was not a prison, it was a gift. He closed his eyes and sank his divine thought inward. Aozhan's death lodged in his primordial spirit like a poisoned thorn. That icy fury had not faded. It had been buried deep and transmuted into a raw, driving force. He wanted to be stronger, strong enough to overturn Hongjun's chessboard, strong enough to grind Luo Hao into dust himself. He began to sort through everything he had learned. The 9 revolutions profound Yuan art, the law of water, the Tao of formations, the Karma golden wheel, and the 12 sea-stabilizing divine pearls. In the void, he could perceive the origin of the pearls more clearly. He realized their deeper function was a law of definition. Stabilizing space was their most superficial use. At a deeper level, they could define rules, define order, and perhaps even define a world. 24 sea-stabilizing divine pearls can split into countless worlds, Long murmured. I have only 12, but if I can fully comprehend their origin, maybe I can create a small world of my own here. Once the thought took hold, it would not be suppressed. He poured all his focus into understanding the pearl's origin. Meanwhile, on Tongbai Mountain, Prime Minister Turtle had wept until his cries were dry. He wiped his face, his eyes bloodshot and hollow. His Highness the Crown Prince had been taken by a mysterious Taoist, his fate unknown. General Aozhan had fallen, his divine soul annihilated while protecting his Highness. What could they do? He turned to the Huai River Dragon God beside him. Dragon God Senior, do you know who that senior is? Prime Minister Turtle asked, clutching at a last shred of hope. The Huai River Dragon God shook his head. His will spoke directly into Prime Minister Turtle's sea of consciousness. He is incomprehensibly strong. Your Highness, I'm afraid. Prime Minister Turtle's heart sank. He glanced at Mo Xuan, the Grand Elder of the Qilin clan, and the others who had been invited to a guest house at the mountain's foot for safekeeping. A fierce light flashed in his eyes, but he swallowed it. Before His Highness left, he had still been arranging things, still fighting the public opinion battle with Luo Hao. He could not let his grief ruin those plans. I must send word back to the Crystal Palace. He forced himself to his feet and produced a cracked turtle shell, the life-bound treasure linked to his primordial spirit, capable of transmitting urgent messages across vast distances by secret technique. He pricked his finger and let a drop of blood fall on the shell. In the name of the Black Tortoise clan, with blood as guide and soul as offering, transmit to the East Sea. The turtle shell flared and shot into the sky as a streak of blood-red light, ignoring spatial barriers before dissolving high above. After that act, Prime Minister Turtle collapsed as if all his strength had been drained. In the East Sea, at the Crystal Palace, Candle Dragon, Ao Dong, and the Dragon Lords of the South, West, and North Seas stood in the coiling Dragon Hall, anxiously awaiting news. Since Long Chen had opened the water mirror profound light on Tongbai Mountain and confronted Luo Hao's demonic screen, the Dragon Clan's leaders had been on edge, amazed by the Crown Prince's methods but worried about him facing Luo Hao directly. Without warning, a blood-red beam pierced the palace's many restrictions and shot into the center of the hall, coalescing into a mirror of crimson light. Prime Minister Turtle's old, despairing face appeared within it. "Prime Minister!" Aodong cried. "Where is His Highness the Crown Prince?" Prime Minister Turtle's lips trembled as he recounted everything that had happened on Tongbai Mountain. Luo Hao's arrival, General Aojan's death, and the annihilation of his divine soul, the Crown Prince burning his karma to repel Luo Hao, and finally, being taken away by a mysterious white-haired Taoist. When they heard that Aojan had been annihilated by a single finger from Luo Hao, not even a true spirit remaining, Coiling Dragon Hall fell into stunned silence. Anger flared in the eyes of every high-ranking Dragon Clan member. Aojan, one of the clan's greatest generals, was simply gone. Then, when they learned that the Crown Prince had been taken by an unknown Taoist and all contact had been severed, the hall's anger turned to an icy abyss. "No, impossible," Aodong murmured, pale. "His Highness is blessed with luck and protected by karma. How could this?" Candle Dragon rose and closed his eyes. His vast divine thought swept across the four seas and toward the primordial world, searching for Long Chen's aura. There was nothing. It was as if the Crown Prince had never existed in the primordial world, completely severed. "The Crown Prince, something has truly happened to him," Candle Dragon said, voice hollow and exhausted. Boom. A terrifying pressure blew out from the depths of the Crystal Palace, the dragon tomb where ancestral dragon cultivated in seclusion. Towering waves engulfed the East Sea. "My son!" An ancestral roar of pain and fury echoed across the four seas. Ancestral Dragon had sensed everything. Inside the coiling dragon hall, Ao Shi, Dragon Lord of the West Sea, sank to the floor, his face ashen. "It's over. It's all over." The Crown Prince was gone, the one who had led the Dragon Clan out of the mire, who had pointed them toward the Tao of Karma, who had given them the 10,000 Dragons World Purification Formation and the Ren Water Pantao Tree, who had given the clan hope for 10,000 generations. Extinguished in an instant. Endless sorrow and despair spread through the Dragon Clan like a suffocating fog. Chapter 34. Luo Hao rejoiced, and disaster broke out. Mount Sumeru, 10,000 Devil Hall. Luo Hao sat upon the 12th grade Black Lotus of world destruction. The pallor on his face, a remnant of the heavenly Tao's will, had not yet faded, but a strange red flush was creeping up his cheeks. He felt it. The aura of Long Chen had completely vanished from this world. Then a fleeting supreme Tao rhythm brushed past him. "Hongjun," Luo Hao narrowed his eyes. The devilish qi around him tightened like a coiled spring. In an instant, he understood. Hongjun had not killed Long Chen. He had merely removed that troublesome chess piece from the board. Heh. A low laugh curled from Luo Hao's throat and echoed through the empty Devil Hall. It swelled into a wild, unrestrained roar that shook Mount Sumeru. "Hongjun, oh Hongjun, you call yourself the heavenly Tao, calculating everything, yet you personally took away the greatest obstacle in my way. You thought you were setting things right? You only made my victory that much easier." Without the Dragon Clan Crown Prince to pierce his schemes, what were the remaining dragons but prey? Luo Hao's laughter died away, replaced by cold calculation. Spread the word. His demonic will rippled through the Devil Palace like a command, carried by throngs of demonic disciples and descended spirits across the primordial world. Though his voice was not loud, it had a demonic clarity that pierced divine souls and traveled far. "Deliver my message. Tell every living thing in the primordial world." Dragon Clan Crown Prince Long Chen, acting against heaven, triggered the heavenly Tao on Tongbai Mountain and forced the Great Tribulation to erupt ahead of time. This catastrophe, the suffering that will fall upon all living beings, that is all Long Chen's doing. The Dragon Clan caused this. They deserve to be killed. They deserve annihilation. The accusation spread like a contagion, sweeping the primordial world. In some obscure immortal peak, two newly transformed minor demons huddled together. "Did you hear? Something huge happened on Tongbai Mountain." The Dragon Clan Crown Prince poked a hole in the sky. And my relatives by the East Sea said the sky went strange and a pressure came down that nearly made them soil themselves. Now Luo Hao says it was the crown prince who detonated the Great Tribulation. So are we doomed? For sure. The Dragon Clan are monsters. Similar whispers rose in every corner. Few understood the full scale of events. All they knew was the sky had changed, and Luo Hao had pointed a finger at the Dragon Clan. Mount Buju battlefield. In the Qilin camp, Qilin crushed the jade slip in his hand. The news that Long Chen had been whisked away by a mysterious Taoist, his fate unknown, had barely settled when Luo Hao's accusations reached the army. Good, good. What a dragon clan. Qilin laughed through clenched teeth, a burning anger wrecking his insides. An elder stepped forward. Clan chief, Luo Hao wants to use us as his blade to slaughter the Dragon Clan. As a blade? Qilin turned on the elder, blood-red eyes hot. Is Clan Elder Mo Xuan still held by the Dragon Clan? Did Long Chen truly take the Huai River? Did the Dragon Clan truly ignite the Great Tribulation? The three questions left the elders speechless. I don't care if Luo Hao wants to borrow a knife, Qilin roared. I only know the Dragon Clan has crossed us one too many times. Now that brat is gone, our chance to strike back has come. He stormed from his tent and bellowed to the assembled Qilin army. All units about face, no more targeting the Phoenix clan. Eastward, head for the East Sea, flatten the Crystal Palace. Undying volcano, Phoenix clan palace. Yuanfeng sat upon the Wutong Divine Wood throne, her long fingers tapping the armrest without thinking. She studied the reports, Luo Hao's declaration and Qilin's mobilization. Clan chief, Qilin has gone mad, a Phoenix elder said. He believes Luo Hao and intends to throw his entire clan at the East Sea. Yuanfeng said nothing at first, reading the intelligence. This is good for us, another elder mused. With the Qilin main force gone, we can reclaim lost territories. Yuanfeng shook her head. No. When she spoke, her voice was cold and clear. Luo Hao's move is a three-pronged plan. First, he makes the Dragon Clan a scapegoat. Second, he drives the Qilin to fight the dragons to the death. Third, he lures us into attrition with the scattered Qilin forces. No matter who wins between us and the Qilin, Luo Hao profits. Only then did the elders grasp her meaning. Then what do you propose? Watch. Yuanfeng rose and walked to the hall's front, eyes fixed eastward. Order the front lines to scale back. Defend only, do not attack. But do not retreat. Keep the Qilin tied up and prevent them from committing fully to the East Sea. She paused, voice sharpening. Also, send an elite force to the edge of the East Sea. No action, only observation. If Qilin wants to be that knife, let him. When the blade dulls, we'll sweep in and clean up. East Sea, Crystal Palace, Coiling Dragon Hall. The hall was grimly silent. Word of the Crown Prince's disappearance and Luo Hao's slander pressed heavily on every Dragon Clan official. How dare he? That brat Luo Hao slanders our clan. Ao Shi, Dragon Lord of the West Sea, slammed his palm down on the 10,000-year-old cold jade table. Cracks webbed across its surface. And that Qilin, how dare he threaten to flatten the East Sea? Ao Nan, Dragon Lord of the South Sea, leapt to his feet, face a mask of grief and fury. Grand Elder, give the order. Rally the Four Seas navies and fight them to the death. Avenge the Crown Prince. How do we get justice? A hoarse voice asked. Ao Dong's eyes were bloodshot. In a few days, he seemed to have aged millennia. He stared at the others, speaking slowly, each word heavy. We charge out and fight the Qilin, only to have Luo Hao's demons pick up the corpses from behind? What did His Highness the Crown Prince tell us before he left? Hold fast. Don't give up. Has it only been days and you already forget? Ao Shi's voice cracked with despair. But His Highness is... Ao Shi choked on the words. He's gone. That's precisely why we must protect the foundation he bled for. Ao Dong's voice rose. He pointed toward the back mountain where the 10,000 Dragons World Purification Formation lay. The Purification Formation is still here. The 3,600 Renwater Pantau trees are still here. This is our last hope, the capital for our comeback, the only chance the Crown Prince left us. The Candle Dragon, who had sat with his eyes closed, opened them slowly and sighed. Ao Dong is right. Charging out now would be suicide, and it would betray the Crown Prince's sacrifice. But, Grand Elder, Ao Shi ground out, nails biting into his palms, are we simply to endure the infamy of being blamed for the Great Tribulation and act like cowards? The minor clans across the four seas are already rebelling. Endure. The candle dragon's single word hung heavy as a mountain. Hear my command. All naval forces of the four seas, retreat to the core sea regions. All Dragon Clan disciples, do not venture out in times of peace. Operate the 10,000 Dragons World Purification Formation at full power. He rose, an aged figure fortified by iron resolve. From today, the Dragon Clan will seal the seas. Let the outside world rage. We will defend the four seas and quietly await our Lord's return. At his order, the vast purification formation flared into light. A hazy veil of water sealed the four seas from the primordial world continent. But everyone inside felt the formation's operation strain. Without the Crown Prince as its pivot, the Dragon Clan's fortune had plunged. Their luck had been a shared web, and with its backbone gone, the flow had dwindled. The formation could still purify evil chi, but it no longer produced karma's golden light efficiently. The Dragon Clan had defended its home, but like a cage, isolated from the world, sealed behind a watery barrier, they could only wait and hope for a return that might come too late. Chapter 35, Enlightenment in Prison, Transformation of the Magic Pearl. In that absolute void, the concept of time had been stripped away. Long Chen sat cross-legged, surrounded by endless nothing, no light, no darkness, no up or down, no left or right. At first, his anger and frustration burned like a fierce fire, scorching his primordial spirit. But all fires fade. When the ashes of emotion settled, only a dead calm remained. Hongjun had removed him from the chessboard to force him to watch the Dragon Clan march toward ruin, watch all his efforts dissolve into nothing. You want me to lose heart to accept my fate? Long Chen's voice echoed in the soundless emptiness, striking his own primordial spirit. Too bad, you gave me time. He stretched out his hand. 12 azure sea-stabilizing divine pearls hovered above his palm, giving off a faint glow. In this place where even the laws were stripped away, these spirit treasures were his only anchor. Outside there are great calamities, karma, and countless schemes, he thought. Here there is nothing. For me, this isn't a prison. It's the best Tao field. Long Chen closed his eyes and sank his divine thought completely into the sea-stabilizing divine pearls. He no longer dwelt on the Dragon Clan, Luo Hao or Hong Jun, thought would only breed heart demons. Now his only task was to grow stronger. Stabilizing is not stillness, it is establishing, defining, he realized. The most basic understanding of the spirit treasure flowed through his primordial spirit. A wild idea took shape. Great God Pangu could create heaven and earth from chaos. Wasn't this cage Hongjun had made a small chaos? Resolute, he poured the remaining 30% of his karmic golden light into the 12 pearls. The pearls flared. They ceased being separate jewels and began rotating in an intricate pattern, linking into a perfect spherical array. By my will, define this space, Long Chen commanded, merging his primordial spirit with the array. This space shall have up and down. An invisible force rippled outward. The chaotic void began to differentiate, gaining a faint sense of up and down. But the order lasted less than a breath before shattering like a mirage, dissolving back into nothing. Pain lanced through Long Chen's primordial spirit, and a portion of his power was spent. Failure stung, but did not discourage him. He grew more meticulous. No, he murmured. Defining isn't commanding out of thin air. It needs a base point, an absolute anchor. In the void, what could be an anchor? He looked at the 12 pearls. I understand. Long Chen activated the array again. With me as the center and the divine pearls as the boundary, established the 6 directions and 8 desolations. This time he didn't merely conjure an ethereal up and down. Using himself as the center, he defined the 6 basic directions: front, back, left, right, up and down. Space took shape again, and this time it held. The area was tiny, only 10 feet across, but it was a true independent space he had forged. The first step had succeeded. This space shall have spiritual chi. He began using the 9 revolutions' mysterious origin technique, carefully releasing the magical power within his body. The instant the power left him, however, the outer void swallowed it like a hungry maw. The new space was a sieve. Nothing could be retained. Without walls, nothing can be held. Long Chen looked beyond his small world to the seal Hongjun had laid, the heavenly wall of the cage. It was flawless, solid, isolating everything with a law formed from supreme Tao, carrying a hint of the creation jade tablet's aura. He couldn't shatter it or fully comprehend the law within, but he could learn from it. You used it to trap me. I will use it as my teacher. He stopped trying to invent and became the most devout of students, studying that invisible heavenly wall. He could not yet grasp its inner complexity, but he could catch its most basic rhythm, solidity. He wove that insight into his divine pearl array and began to mimic the heavenly wall, constructing a fragile membrane at the edge of his 10-foot world. It was painstaking work, failure after failure, endless restarts. He lost track of time. His primordial spirit was tempered and refined through relentless imitation and construction. Who could say how long it took? Perhaps 1,000 years, perhaps 10,000. At last, a faint membrane of light fully enclosed his 10-foot sphere. He breathed a trace of magical power into it. This time, it was not swallowed. Like smoke, it drifted and circulated within the tiny space. Success. But Longchen did not stop there. He continued to copy the heavenly wall, learning the fundamental law rhythms of stability and circulation and grafting them onto his small world. His world slowly grew, 10 feet, 100 feet, 1,000. Earth, water, fire, and wind began to evolve within, chaotic and colliding at times, but real. His cultivation rose steadily. The path had no bottleneck because he was walking a road no one had ever trodden, proving the Tao through creation. After another immeasurable span of time, his small world expanded to 10,000 miles in circumference. The elements had stabilized enough that spiritual qi could circulate on its own and a faint vitality took root. His world had come alive. In that moment, Longchen's primordial spirit vibrated, as though some invisible shackle had been broken. A vast, majestic power surged through him, flowing into his limbed bones, grand unity, golden immortal. It was done. His Tao fruit, born on the foundation of this nascent small world, carried a trace of the Creator God's aura. He opened his eyes and felt an unprecedented power swell inside him. Looking at the crude but genuine world he had built, he allowed himself a faint smile. Then the indestructible heavenly wall surrounding the caged space trembled. Through a hairline crack in Hongjun's seal, a foreign aura seeped in, a gray-black stream of qi. It drifted into Longchen's small world and landed on a patch of land he had just condensed. That land withered into dust. The gray-black qi brushed a strand of spiritual qi, and the latter flared violently, corrupted with resentment and annihilation, calamity qi. The calamity qi from the great calamity beyond had seeped through. Longchen's expression hardened. Only when the great calamity reached its zenith, when countless lives perished and heaven and earth's laws trembled, could Hongjun's seal develop such a crack. He snatched the wisp of calamity qi, confining it in his palm with the power of a grand unity golden immortal, and probed into it with his divine thought. A flood of images slammed into his mind. He saw the Qilin clan's iron hooves trampling the eastern shores, the Phoenix clan's warships watching from a distance, the unwilling wails of Dragon Clan disciples trapped in the 10,000 Dragon World Purification Formation, Shi Qilin's roar and Luo Hao's manic laughter reverberating through heaven and earth. Dragon Clan, the chief culprit, deserved to die, deserve annihilation. The great calamity had reached its end, and his Dragon Clan had become the scapegoat pointed at by the multitudes, crushed within the four seas and barely clinging to life. Longchen clenched his fist, and the calamity qi in his palm was completely refined by him. He lifted his head. His gaze seemed to pierce his small world, pierce Hongjun's seal, and reach out toward the primordial world beyond. "Hongjun," he said, voice calm and cold, "thank you for your cage. It taught me the Tao of a grand unity golden immortal. The show is over. It's my turn to flip the table." Chapter 36. The Dragon Clan fought a bloody battle and was forced into disaster. The primordial continent had become a bloody purgatory. With its last restraint gone, the Dragonhan calamity had been unleashed like a vicious beast freed from all shackles, devouring the world with a brutality 100 times worse than before. Luo Hao's demonic schemes and Shi Qilin's iron hooves had dragged the Dragon Clan, once sealing the four seas, back into a quagmire of blood and fire. West Sea border. Aoshi's dragon body lay half submerged in a sea of blood, surrounded by piled corpses of Qilin. The shattered aura of law mixed with a nauseating stench. The West Sea Dragon King's halberd in his hand had a cracked blade and a shaft veined with fissures, each swing issued a mournful keening as though barely able to bear the strain. Roar! A Qilin as large as a mountain charged through, trampling over the corpses of its own kind. There was no pain in its eyes, only madness, twisted by devilish qi. The single horn on its head drew heavy earthlaw, then struck at Aoshi's head like a falling star. Good timing. Aoshi shouted hoarsely and surged forward rather than retreating. He turned his battered dragon body into a final weapon and rammed into the incoming blow. Clang! Dragon horn and Qilin horn met with a sound that shattered the clouds. Space itself folded, and fragments of law splintered like driving rain. Aoshi's immense body was hurled away, large patches of scales torn off, golden dragon blood spattering half the sky. The Qilin was badly wounded too, overthrown by Aoshi's counterforce, its massive body smashing into the ground and gouging a bottomless chasm. Aoshi hadn't even had time to recover when dozens of Qilin guards, their eyes the same mad red, converged from all directions. Their earthy yellow divine ability light surged like a torrent, engulfing him. Father! Aoji, commanding the West Sea Fleet, charged desperately toward the Qilin formation from a distance, his throat raw from shouting. Though his Dao heart had been reforged with Long Chen's help and become nearly unbreakable, tens of thousands of years of constant battle had exhausted the reserve of his magic power. He could only watch helplessly as his father was besieged, fury and fear twisting his face. "Your Highness, where are you?" he wailed inwardly. If the Crown Prince were here, why would the Dragon Clan be in such ruins? East Sea, Crystal Palace, Zulong and Aodong stood side by side before a massive Four Seas sandbox. On it, the glowing dots representing the Dragon Clan's legions and strongholds dimmed and went out one by one, at a speed that could be watched with the naked eye. "Grand Elder, there's no more room to retreat," Aodong's voice rasped like two stones grinding. "The West Sea defense line. Only Uncle Aoshi remains, holding on with 3,000 disciples. One more step back and Shi Qilin's claws will reach our East Sea waters," Aodong continued, eyes bloodshot. Zulong was silent. His aged hands were clenched so tightly that his knuckles creaked. Tens of thousands of years as acting clan chief had left him exhausted and helpless, forced to witness the Dragon Clan dragged step by step into a meat grinder of war. The light of the 10,000 Dragons World Purification Formation had dimmed with the clan's waning luck. The Ren Water Peach, an innate spiritual root, could only barely sustain the wounded soldiers on the front lines. There was no surplus power left to raise the cultivation of the clansmen. "It's all my fault." Aodong's voice was filled with an unresolvable guilt. "If only I had been firmer with His Highness's strategy, if only I could have protected him. It's not your fault." Zulong lifted a hand and gave Aodong a heavy pat on the shoulder. The force was considerable. Luohao's schemes run too deep. From the moment he targeted the Dragon Clan, this calamity was hard to avoid. His Highness, he bought us too much time, too many chances. "Bought too much." Aodong echoed, his eyes dimming to nothing. Then a shrill, high phoenix cry, filled with fear and refusal, split the air from the southern sky. The 10,000 dragons formation above the Crystal Palace shook violently, and a warning dragon roar echoed through the sea area. "Alarm! South side of the formation, an enemy is breaking through." The elder on guard shouted in panic. A figure wrapped in towering flames ripped a gap in the formation and tumbled into the coiling dragon hall in tatters. It was Yuanfeng. Her 9-colored phoenix crown sat askew, her feathered robes were shredded and scorched. A trace of golden blood clung to the corner of her mouth, her aura in disarray. The Nanming fire that should have lit heaven and earth now guttered like a candle in the wind. "Where is the ancestral dragon? Let the ancestral dragon come out and see me." Yuanfeng's voice rang urgent and unbridled as she landed. Zulong and Aodong's expressions hardened at once. "Yuanfeng?" Zulong stepped forward, voice cold as steel. "How dare you break into my crystal palace? Shi Qilin is mad. Luohao is mad." Yuanfeng ignored the rebuke and spoke with an unfamiliar fear. "They've joined forces. They detonated the Western Ancestral Vein, using the entire spiritual vein's power to ram Mount Buzhou. The Heavenly Pillar has fallen." "What?" Zulong and Aodong felt struck by lightning. Mount Buzhou, formed from Pongu's spine, a pillar that supported the heavens. How could it fall? "My Phoenix clan is finished." Yuan Feng gave a bitter, tragic laugh. The once proud ruler, who had looked down upon all others, was now despair incarnate. Luo Hao used the immortal slaughtering sword formation to trap and slaughter my elders. Shi Qilin, with what forces he had left, is at Undying Volcano, cutting down my clansmen, my children. Aodong stepped forward, eyes sharp with accusation. When your Phoenix clan sat back and watched the tigers fight, taking advantage of the chaos and stabbing us in the back, did you ever think this day would come? He pressed in, his voice colder. Now, disaster has fallen on you, and you come to our dragon clan? What do you want? Alliance. Yuan Feng stared at Zulong, each syllable squeezed through clenched teeth. If the lips are gone, the teeth will be cold. If my Phoenix clan is annihilated, you will be next. She swept her gaze across the magnificent but desolate hall, voice rising. Only if our two clans unite and draw out the ancestral dragon will we have any chance against those two madmen. Only then, in this calamity of heaven's collapse, can we preserve a trace of our bloodlines. The hall was silent. An alliance with the Phoenix clan, an enemy that had recently encroached on dragon territory, felt bitter. Still, Yuan Feng was right. If the Phoenix clan were completely wiped out, and Luo Hao had already merged the Qilin clan and the demonic path forces, then the Dragon clan would have no one left to oppose him. The Dragon clan, cornered within the four seas, would be like a turtle trapped in a jar. Why should our Dragon clan trust you? Zulong's voice was cold as 10,000 years of ice. Because of this. Yuan Feng's eyes flashed with tragic resolve. She bit her lip and spat out an object. Not a magic treasure or a divine ability, but a burnished crimson gold flame that radiated endless vitality. Within the flame floated a heart-shaped piece of wood, clear as crystal, as if holding the life of a world. The moment it appeared, the cold seawater aura of the coiling dragon hall was instantly purified. Tiny green sprouts pushed up from the carved stone pillars of 10,000 dragon totems, only to wither a moment later under the sheer intensity of the vitality. Zulong, who had remained impassive, showed shock for the first time. His pupils constricted, and in a lost voice he exclaimed, "An innate spiritual root, the heartwood of the parasol tree?" Chapter 37. The prince escapes the catastrophe and returns. Inside the void cage, the trace of tribulation chi seeping in from beyond felt to Longchen like the dying wail of the entire primordial world. Heavenly pillars lay shattered, the earth wept blood, rivers ran backwards. The resentment and evil chi of countless lives converged into a black-red torrent that scoured heaven and earth, making even heavenly Tao laws wobble within its flood. The final battle has begun. Longchen rose. He knew this was his only chance. The end of the Great Tribulation was the most chaotic moment for the laws and the most unstable moment for Hongjun's seal. To miss it would be forever. Open. With a low roar, Longchen pushed the grand unity Tao fruit he had attained to its limit. Behind him a vast world phantom unfurled. Heavens and earth, mountains and rivers, and even rudimentary vegetation and life. An embryonic minor thousand worlds. 24 azure divine orbs formed that world's firmament. 12 were at Tao perfection. The other 12, though phantoms, radiated the grand aura of creation. 24 heavens, merge with my body. He poured the entire power of the minor thousand worlds into his right fist. His divine thought locked onto the trajectory where that wisp of tribulation chi had seeped through, locating the violently fluctuating law node on the seal. There, he struck it. Dong. The impact was not a collision so much as a primordial heartbeat before the universe's birth. His fist met the invisible heavenly Tao seal. Crack! A hairline fracture flashed and vanished. It worked. Ignoring the tearing pain in his primordial spirit, Longchen activated the 24 heavens again. A second punch. A third. Each blow made the minor thousand worlds phantom quake. Newly formed mountains crumbled, rivers dried, and the foundation of his Tao fruit wailed. He was using the Tao he'd cultivated for tens of thousands of years to batter Hongjun's heavenly Tao. When the ninth punch landed, the entire void cage let out a mournful cry and began to rupture inch by inch. Countless fragments of the void were instantly consumed by the violent primordial chi outside. Longchen's figure reappeared beneath a blood-red primordial sky. That dense, almost tangible, bloody evil chi sent a chill through him, even as a newly advanced Grand Unity Golden Immortal. He had succeeded. He did not stop. With a single step, he tore through space and shot toward the East Sea. East Sea, Crystal Palace, coiling Dragon Hall. The air inside was heavier even than the thousand-fathom depths. Zulong, Dong, and the remaining high officials of the Dragon Clan were gathered around the floating Wutong Wood heart. Opposite them stood Yufeng, disheveled but still holding her imperial bearing. We cannot ally with them. Nan, Dragon Lord of the South Sea, snarled hoarsely, his gaze burning with hatred as he pointed at Yuanfeng. When our Dragon Clan disciples were bleeding in the West Sea, what were the Phoenix Clan's people doing, encroaching on our territory? And now that disaster has come, they show up to plead, too late. Nan, calm yourself. Dong's eyes were bloodshot as he pointed toward the 10,000 Dragons world-purifying formation outside the hall, its light dim. Yuanfeng is right. If the lips fall, the teeth will feel the chill. If the Phoenix Clan is absorbed and they consolidate both clans' strength, we'll be next. This grand formation can't guarantee the Dragon Clan's survival. But this humiliation, Nan started, but was cut off when the 10,000 Dragons seal above the coiling Dragon Hall suddenly sang out with a clear, resonant hum. A golden beam shot up, piercing the hall's roof and illuminating the East Sea. Then a high, exultant dragon roar pulsed from the seal, reverberating through the Crystal Palace. There was no sovereigns domineering, only the reverence of subjects welcoming their true lord. No tyrant's roar, only a wanderer's joyous homecoming. It was a submission, born of bloodline origin. The heated debate in the hall immediately ceased. Everyone, including Yuanfeng, froze. The 10,000 Dragon seal is rejoicing? Dong stared up in disbelief. Zulong, long silent, trembled. An aura approached with incomprehensible speed, vast, profound, carrying the creative intent of Genesis, like the very making of heaven and earth. It felt fiercely familiar to his primordial spirit, yet far more powerful than memory. This aura. Zulong's voice shook, his cloudy old eyes filling with a wild joy he could scarcely believe. Grand Elder, what's happening? Shi asked anxiously. It's His Highness, the Crown Prince. Zulong roared, as loud as his ancient body could manage. It's the Crown Prince's aura. He's back. What? The words struck the Dragon Clan like a thunderclap. The coiling Dragon Hall fell into an absolute silence. Dong, Shi, Nan, every high official froze, expressions locked. Yuanfeng's face changed as she turned and looked outside. Then the unbelievable happened. The 10,000 Dragons world-purifying formation, which had guarded the four seas and resisted the Qilin and demonic path for 10,000 years, parted on its own and opened a passage. Runes danced like soldiers in formation, welcoming their true master. A figure in white stepped through that passage, composed and unhurried. In one stride, he crossed 10,000 miles of sea and appeared in the center of the coiling Dragon Hall. His black hair flowed over his shoulders, his face was unchanged, but his eyes were like two nascent worlds in cycles of creation and destruction. Long Chen, I'm back. He looked at the familiar yet stunned faces in the hall and spoke calmly. His voice was not loud, but it struck every Dragon Clan member's heart. The silence deepened, an absolute, reverent silence. Your Highness? Dong's lips trembled as he called out, afraid it was all a hallucination at the Dragon Clan's end. Long Chen's gaze fell on him, and warmth flickered in those deep eyes. Elder Dong, you've worked hard all these years. That single sentence broke Dong's restraint. The iron-blooded general who had commanded the Dragon Clan's forces and shed no tears through 10,000 years of battle suddenly had red eyes. His massive frame shook and could hardly stand. Your Highness. Dong fell to his knees with a heavy thud, his scales striking the crystal floor. He poured out a decade of grief and pain in a cry that rattled the hall. You're back! You really are back! Greetings, Your Highness, the Crown Prince. Zulong, Shi, Nan, and the others followed suit, trembling with emotion as they knelt and offered their deepest honors. The Dragon Clan's heaven had returned at its darkest, most desperate hour. Only Yuanfeng remained standing. She looked at the white-clad youth amidst the dragons, felt the terrifying aura radiating from him, and met eyes that pierced through everything. For the proud empress of the Phoenix clan, accustomed to holding court, this was the first time she felt truly at a loss. She had come to the Crystal Palace seeking help from battered soldiers, and now who had come to stand before her? Chapter 38. Cleanse the demon blood with a snap of the fingers, and the dragon clan will be reborn. Rise, Longchen said, lifting his hand. A gentle force emerged from nowhere, steady and unyielding, lifting Zulong, Aodong, and the other senior Dragon Clan members from the ground. Longchen's gaze swept the hall. Every clansman bore wounds, their magic power flickered, and their eyes held the hollow fatigue left by 10,000 years of blood and battle. I know all the grievances the Dragon Clan has suffered these years. His voice was soft, but it seemed to melt the 10,000-year ice in Aoshi's chest. The hardened veteran, who had fought in and out of the West Sea 7 times, blinked until his eyes shone red. Your Highness, you finally returned. Zulong's voice trembled. He asked, these years, what exactly did you? I went to a place and drank a cup of tea. Longchen didn't mention Hongjun's name. That name, once spoken, would resonate across the heavenly Tao of the primordial world. Drink tea? Zulong, Aodong, and the others exchanged looks, unable to imagine the terror hidden behind such a casual phrase. Still, they could feel the change in the Crown Prince. Where there had once been an abyss that devoured all things, now there was the world itself, creating abysses and stars. It's good that your Highness has returned. It's good. Aodong wiped his face with vigor. His voice was hoarse. Now our dragon clan is besieged by the Qilin and the demonic path. The 4 seas lie desolate. Our fortune wanes. Please, your Highness, take charge of the situation. Long Chen's gaze passed over them and rested on the lone, richly dressed woman in the corner. Phoenix Empress, Yuan Feng? It is I, Yuan Feng said, steadying herself, standing as regally as she could in the face of the Dragon Clan's glare. Why have you come to my East Sea? She glanced at the clansmen surrounding her, faces hungry for her blood, then forced herself to repeat her earlier words. She pushed the floating Wutong Wood heart toward Long Chen. If the Dragon Clan is willing to send troops and ally with my Phoenix Clan to resist Luo Hao and the Qilin, then this Wutong Wood heart is my clan's sincerity. The hall erupted. Aonan, Dragon Lord of the South Sea, exploded with fury. Alliance? Yuan Feng, you have the nerve to speak that word. His single eye flashed blood red. He jabbed a claw at Yuan Feng. 30,000 of my South Sea disciples were ambushed by your Phoenix Clan at the border and wiped out. My son, Ao Cheng, had his divine soul extinguished by a single flap of your Grand Elder's wing. How will you repay this blood debt? When my Dragon Clan retreated to the 4 seas to avoid disaster, who followed and seized our territories and plundered our spiritual veins? Now that we are weakened, you remember us? Too late. Get out of the East Sea. Even if my Dragon Clan fights to the last soldier and sheds the last drop of blood, we will never ally with a treacherous wretch like you. Right. Get out. Sworn enemies. The shouts of the Dragon Clan elders rose and fell. Yuan Feng's face drained of color. She couldn't find words to deny them. What Ao Nan accused was true. Silence. Long Chen's voice cut through the din. It wasn't loud, but within the coiling dragon hall, all sound died. He did not touch the Wutong Wood heart, an artifact potent enough to drive a Grand Unity Golden Immortal to madness. He looked at Yuan Feng instead. I ask you, was it Luo Hao who incited the 3 clans to war, causing the primordial world to run with blood? Yuan Feng froze, then admitted quietly, yes. Good. Long Chen's voice was calm. When my Dragon Clan retreated to the 4 seas to avoid calamity, did your Phoenix Clan take advantage of that, attack our territory, and slaughter our people? Yuan Feng's face went pale. The surrounding elders leaned forward like predators. Yes. Then I ask you this. Long Chen's tone turned cold. Your Phoenix Clan sat on the mountain watching the tigers fight, letting my Dragon Clan and the Qilin Clan slaughter each other. Now that disaster has come to your door, why should my Dragon Clan send troops to save you? He stepped forward. An invisible pressure cracked the crystal floor beneath Yuan Feng's feet. By this face of yours, or by this piece of wood? Yuan Feng had no answer. Her proud chin fell, dignity crumbling. Long Chen. You may leave, Long Chen interrupted. The feud between Dragon and Phoenix, the calamity of the Qilin, these are your own karma. My Dragon Clan will not meddle. As for Luo Hao, Long Chen's voice cooled further. I will personally settle his score. Yuan Feng's blood rushed to her head. She was about to explode when suddenly something changed. Ao Nan, who had been roaring moments before, let out an inhuman cry and collapsed to his knees. Inky black devilish qi seeped from the seams of his scales. His single eye, once blood-red, clouded over with an indiscriminate frenzy of slaughter. Not good. Aodong's face went pale. It's Luo Hao's immortal slaughtering sword qi. Aonan fought the demon Luo in the West Sea, and his origin was damaged. Before he could move, muffled groans and savage roars echoed from outside the hall. The guards posted around the palace fell to the ground, black qi crawling out from their wounds. They staggered to their feet, eyes vacant, and began attacking their companions. The devilish qi was contagious, an aura that eroded the mind. "Your Highness, what do we do?" Zulong's face was deathly ash. Those who retreated from the front lines over the years have been contaminated by this devilish qi. We used Renwater Peach to suppress it, but it only delays, never eradicates. Once it escapes suppression, they degenerate into demonic creatures that only know slaughter. Blocking it is useless. Long Chen shook his head as he looked at his clansmen writhing on the ground. Luo Hao's demonic path is rooted in destruction. The immortal slaughtering sword qi is the origin of killing. It has already polluted their true spirits. Using magic to block it is like trying to extinguish a blaze with a teacup. The devilish qi only grows stronger. He stood in the center of the great hall and closed his eyes. Then he opened them. A silent, 24-colored halo spread from him. It was neither divine art nor spell, more like the imprint of a real world descending onto this one. The halo swept over Aonan. The black devilish qi trapped in his flesh screamed to escape, but the halo held firm. It did not purify or annihilate. Instead, a supreme law descended within it. The ferocious devilish qi was decomposed, reduced to the most primitive laws of killing and destruction. Then, under the guidance of a law of creation, those origins were redefined and reassembled. The savage killing was forged into sharp, pure gang metal qi, integrating into Aonan's claws and making them gleam coldly. The corrupting destruction transmuted into primordial spirit energy, seeping back into his damaged true spirit and nourishing his divine soul. In a breath or two, Aonan's blood-red eye cleared. He stared at his hands in bewilderment. The devilish qi had vanished. 10,000 years of old injuries were healed, and his cultivation had even advanced slightly. The halo didn't stop. It pierced the coiling dragon hall's walls, swept across the crystal palace, and spread over thousands of miles across the East Sea. Dragon Clan warriors everywhere, tormented by the devilish qi, felt it lift. The black energy peeled away. Their hollow auras returned, broken horns knit back together, and spent magic power flowed anew. My injuries are healed. The devilish qi is gone. That damn devilish qi is completely gone. It's His Royal Highness the Crown Prince. He has returned. The cheers of countless Dragon Clan members roared from all directions, swelling into a sound that shook the very sea. Inside the coiling dragon hall, silence fell like a benediction. Zulong, Aodong, Aoshi, all the elders, looked at the white-robed figure in the center as if beholding a god, the very face of the heavenly Tao. This was not merely a divine art. To transform destruction into creation, to refine a deadly poison into a great tonic, this was the sovereignty of a creator. Chapter 39. The Phoenix clan asks for help. Wutong Muxin, thank you, Your Highness, for saving my life. Aonan, Dragon Lord of the South Sea, sank to one knee, his voice raw. He stared at his dragon claws. The black demonic patterns that had once writhed across them had been transformed into sharp, metallic lusters. The immortal slaying demon qi that had gnawed at his divine soul for thousands of years was gone, not merely removed, but folded into his cultivation. Long Chen raised a hand and a gentle force lifted him. Rise. Candle Dragon stepped forward, his old voice trembling with excitement. Your Highness, your method, those injured warriors on the front lines. All clansmen tainted by devilish qi can be completely cured. Long Chen's gaze swept across every Dragon Clan member present. Later, I will imprint a creation law into the 10,000 Dragon Seal. Any Dragon Clan bloodline that enters the seal to receive the baptism can purge the demonic taint and rebuild their foundations. Creation, to reverse Rahu's corrupt, destructive demonic path and turn it into a nourishing boon. This was no mere divine technique. It was the authority of the Tao itself, the prerogative of a creator. Your Highness is sagacious. Candle Dragon and Aodong exchanged looks, and then the assembled Dragon Clan elders prostrated themselves fully. They finally realized the Crown Prince had reached a realm beyond their imagining. The Dragon Clan had not only regained its heaven, he had brought them an entire new world. Outside the hall, the Dragon Clan's cheers shook the sky. Inside, those same cheers felt like icy picks driving into Yuan Feng's bones. Her last hope had been crushed by a single flick of his finger. Her non-Mingli fire could not contend with that level of demonic qi, yet he had cured the Dragon Clan's greatest incurable ailment on the spot. What right did she have left to demand an alliance? The color drained from Yuan Feng's face until only a bitter smile remained. She bowed deeply to Long Chen, a desolate figure. Since the Dragon Clan is safe, this emperor will take his leave. She turned, faltering. The heart of the Fermiana tree, the token she had counted on as her final hope, lay on the ground, glowing faintly, as if mocking her for overestimating herself. Wait a moment. Long Chen's voice was calm. Yuan Feng's body stiffened. She turned slowly and watched him walk over, bend down, and pick up the tree heart. Innate fire origin and wood vitality thrummed through his palm. Good stuff. He toyed with the tree heart like one evaluating an amusing trinket. Crown Prince Long Chen, what is the meaning of this? Yuan Feng demanded. The Fermiana tree heart. I'll take it. His answer was blunt. Yuan Feng's voice cut through the hall. What do you mean? This is a token of alliance. You refused to send troops, and now you take my Phoenix clan's supreme treasure. Why? Long Chen looked at her, then turned to Ao Nan beside him. Ao Nan, how many of your South Sea kin fell at the hands of the Phoenix clan? Ao Nan's single eye reddened. He stared at Yuan Feng and forced the words out through clenched teeth. Reporting to your highness, 36,800 named souls. My son Ao Cheng was struck down by the Phoenix clan's grand elder. His divine soul was annihilated. Very good. Long Chen's gaze returned to Yuan Feng. Did you hear that? 36,800 lives, and the son of a dragon lord. This tree heart, Long Chen said, consider it your Phoenix clan's first installment of interest. You are openly robbing me. Yuan Feng trembled with fury. You can think of it that way. Long Chen took a step forward, and the crystal floor beneath him spiderwebbed with silent cracks. Or you can act now and snatch it back. Yuan Feng's breath caught. Snatch it back? She looked at the Dragon Clan elders who bristled around her like wolves, then at the man before her. To act would be to invite utter humiliation. Long Chen, don't push your luck. Her voice carried a plea. The undying volcano has fallen, and my clansmen are being slaughtered. This tree heart is the Phoenix clan's last hope. Hope? Long Chen's voice was low, but the words chilled the hall. You used my Dragon Clan descendants' bones to pave the road to that hope. Now you preach about hope? He spoke each syllable like a blow. The moment your Phoenix clan turned on the Dragon Clan, your hope was buried by your own hands. Yuan Feng was silenced. Pride drained from her face. The Dragon Clan elders, who had carried resentment for tens of thousands of years, felt that weight finally lift, like a lifetime of grievance closing its chapter. Just as she swayed on the brink of collapse, Long Chen added, Of course, my Dragon Clan is not without reason. Yuan Feng looked up. A faint spark of defiance flared. My Phoenix clan can choose not to send troops. Long Chen toyed with the Fermiana tree heart. But we can give your Phoenix clan a place of refuge. What? Yuan Feng froze. Your Highness. Ao Nan roared, his eye bloodshot with fury. Impossible. My son's blood hasn't dried. How can we invite a wolf into our home? Please reconsider, Your Highness. Ao Shi stepped forward anxiously. How can such deep hatred be forgiven? Silence. Long Chen's single word calmed the hall. He turned to the stunned Yuan Feng and stated his terms. The meaning is simple. You may bring your remaining Phoenix clan into my East Sea. The 10,000 Dragons World Purification Formation will shield you through the end of the Great Tribulation. Yuan Feng's expression flickered. This was no alliance. It was sanctuary. Is this charity? She asked through clenched teeth. No. Long Chen shook the tree heart. This is a transaction. You will use this tree heart to buy your clan's right to live. Yuan Feng fell utterly silent. Humiliation washed over her. She, the Phoenix Emperor, hegemon of the great wilderness, had to hand over her clan's supreme origin treasure in exchange for permission to shelter her people beneath another's roof. But she had no choice. Refuse, and the Phoenix clan would be wiped out. Accept, and the bloodline would survive. All right, the word came from her like a spent breath. When she spoke, she seemed to collapse inward. Elder Candle Dragon. Long Chen no longer looked at her and began issuing orders. In the outer sea of the East Sea, designate an island 10,000 li wide, cordon it off, and let them stay there. Yes, Your Highness. Candle Dragon bowed. Additionally, establish rules. First, every Phoenix clan member who enters my East Sea will have a Dragon Clan restriction planted in their divine soul. Anyone with ulterior motives will be executed immediately. Second, all magical treasures and spiritual items will be surrendered to cover their lodging and provisions. Third, copies of all Phoenix Clan legacy cultivation techniques will be made and placed in my Dragon Clan's scripture pavilion. Long Chen paused, then met Yuan Feng's ashen face. The debt you owe the Dragon Clan, you will slowly repay with these. Should there be any violation, kill without mercy. What he called protection was effectively imprisonment. He had taken their supreme treasure and now intended to fold the Phoenix Clan's future, its teachings and items, into the Dragon Clan's vaults. Having dismissed Yuan Feng, Long Chen looked up, his gaze piercing the crystal dome of the palace toward the distant western continent. There, three titanic auras collided, tearing at the laws of heaven and earth. One of them belonged to his father, the ancestral dragon. He had resisted before, but now had personally entered the final killing tribulation. Your Highness, we. Aodong stepped forward, eyes burning to fight. Transmit my command. Long Chen withdrew his gaze, his voice leaving no room for doubt. All Dragon Clan legions remain in place, fully maintain the operation of the Grand Formation, and guard the four seas. But, Father God, Aodong's worry was raw. That is his choice. It is his destiny to bear as the Dragon Lord. We will not participate in this predestined tragedy. Long Chen's decision was iron. He would not allow more dragon descendants to be buried in this great tribulation. But he himself would go to witness the final curtain of an era with his own eyes. Chapter 40. The three emperors offer sacrifices, and the prince observes the way of heaven. Fellow Taoist Xuanwu, long time no see. At the eye of the North Sea, Long Chen's figure materialized silently and bowed toward the mirror-calm water. Beneath the surface, a thick, majestic aura awakened. The colossal Xuanwu slowly rose, the surrounding sea undisturbed. The golden light of karma that suppressed the North Sea's luck on his back was far denser than it had been tens of thousands of years ago. Your Highness. Xuanwu's voice trembled with astonishment. His mountain-like head drew nearer, studying Long Chen carefully. Your aura, it really has returned. Xuanwu had personally witnessed Long Chen's aura vanish from the world. He had long believed Long Chen had met his tribulation. The regret had never left him. There was a small accident. I went to a very distant place, Long Chen said lightly, offering no more explanation. He turned to face the Western continent and stated his purpose plainly. I came to invite you, fellow Taoist, to witness a grand spectacle with me. A grand spectacle? Xuanwu frowned. The curtain fall of the three clans' hegemony, the end of an era. Xuanwu fell silent. In a final battle of that scale, any ordinary being approaching within 10,000 miles would be shredded by escaping law. Yet he also knew Long Chen had invited him deliberately. Whatever Long Chen wanted to see was more than just a fight. Very well. This old turtle will accompany your highness. Xuanwu answered in a deep voice. He already owed Long Chen a huge debt. Long Chen waved his sleeve. The 24 sea-stabilizing divine pearls on him emitted a faint glow, enveloping both their figures. Space folded subtly, and when it cleared, they stood in a different realm. Xuanwu looked around, his heart trembling. Such spatial displacement was nearly the Tao itself, the primordial western continent. The heavenly law here had collapsed completely. The ground was split open by bottomless canyons. Rivers had turned to crimson magma, stinking of sulfur and ruin. The sky was a dark, blood-red canopy riddled with hideous spatial rifts. Chaos chi cascaded like waterfalls, eroding everything in its path. At the center of this doomsday purgatory, 4 titanic figures fought a desperate last battle. A 10,000-mile-long purple-gold dragon was the ancestral dragon. A 5-colored Qilin, treading auspicious clouds of karma, was Qilin. A billion-jang-tall demon god, wielding the god-slaying spear and standing on a 12th-grade black lotus of world destruction, was Rahu. The 4th was a 7-colored phoenix, burning with Nanming Li fire. The primordial phoenix. Xuanwu's huge turtle eyes widened in confusion when he saw the primordial phoenix. Your Highness, didn't the Phoenix Emperor's incarnation go to the East Sea? The one who went to the East Sea was an incarnation, Long Chen said. A copy condensed from her origin essence blood, her last thought of survival. But the one here is her true body, locked down by tribulation, unable to escape. Xuanwu understood. That proud Phoenix Emperor had already seen the likely outcome when she stepped onto this battlefield. Seeking aid in the East Sea had been the last fallback she left for the Phoenix clan. Tragically, that path had been personally blocked by Long Chen. On the battlefield, it looked like Qilin and the primordial phoenix had allied against the ancestral dragon and Rahu, but the alliance was fragile as paper. When the primordial phoenix's Nanming Li fire swept by, Qilin instinctively dodged, unwilling to let the flames touch his karma. The ancestral dragon lashed a divine tail, and Rahu angled his black lotus away, wary of the dragon's domineering power. They called each other allies, yet the killing intent they held for one another was as strong as, or stronger than, that directed at their supposed enemies. Ancestral dragon, what are you waiting for? Rahu's demonic voice shook heaven and earth. He shoved Qilin back with a spear thrust and snarled at the ancestral dragon. You and I, join forces and first butcher that foolish deer and that feathered fool. Then we'll split the luck of this primordial world. Shut up. The ancestral dragon's claw shattered the primordial phoenix's protective light, and with a backhand dragon breath, he blasted at Rahu's 12th grade black lotus. Demon spawn, did you plot against my son? Your son, Rahu laughed oddly. His god-slaying spear intercepted the dragon breath, the killing chi at the spear's tip surging. The dragon's sons and grandsons this venerable has cut down number at least 8,000, maybe 10,000. Who remembers which one it was? You're courting death. The ancestral dragon exploded with destructive fury, purple gold eyes blazing. He finally realized the blood spilled from the dragon clan over 10,000 years had been manipulated by this supposed ally. With a thunderous roar, he abandoned the phoenix entirely, coiling and lunging full force at Rahu. Idiot! Driven mad by tribulation chi, he bellowed. Rahu cursed and braced his spear. The battle instantly became a death match between the ancestral dragon and Rahu. Qilin and the primordial phoenix, granted a momentary respite, hovered weakly in the void realm. They exchanged glances and saw boundless sorrow and bitter mockery mirrored in each other's eyes. Primordial phoenix, we fought and contended our whole lives. Qilin's voice cracked. He looked down at the ancestral land of the Qilin clan, now a yawning chasm leading into the earth. A tragic laugh escaped him. In the end, we were simply chess pieces in someone else's game. Ridiculous, pathetic. The primordial phoenix said nothing. 2 trails of blood-tinged tears ran from her proud eyes. Moments ago, her incarnation in the East Sea had dissipated, and that phoenix heartwood had fallen into the dragon clan's hands. The Phoenix clan's hope had been severed. She could feel the luck of the undying volcano decaying to its last thread. The Phoenix clan was finished. Enough! Qilin suddenly bellowed to the sky, his roar tearing through stone and metal, filled with inextinguishable regret and resolution. My Qilin clan, born of the earth, wielders of the authority of earth, we rose in hegemony and brought mountains and rivers to ruin. Our sins are deep. Today, I will use this broken body to put the earth to rest. Ignoring friend and foe, his massive form condensed into a thick, earthy yellow divine light and dove into the deepest, most terrifying spiritual vein breach below. He intended to use his origin to suppress the shattered mountains and rivers. Qilin, the primordial phoenix, called. Ha ha! Primordial phoenix, if there is a next life, you and I will contend again. Qilin's figure vanished resolutely into the endless abyss. The western continent convulsed, and the ever-spreading cracks slowly began to close. Qilin had merged with the earth's spiritual vein. Madmen! They're all madmen! Rahu forced the ancestral dragon back with a spear thrust. Seeing what had happened, he cursed in fury. His plan to destroy the western spiritual vein had been half ruined by Qilin's sacrifice. Primordial Phoenix, what about you? The ancestral dragon halted long enough to turn his great dragon eyes toward the lone 7-colored phoenix. The primordial phoenix smiled sadly. Relief laced her laughter. She cast a final complicated look to the East Sea. My Phoenix clan, born of the undying volcano, presides over all fires under heaven, she declared. Today, I will use my body to bind these runaway fire veins and return clarity to the heavens and earth. She spread her wings and condensed into a sphere of world-consuming Nanmingli fire, aiming for the southern sky. She intended to press down the terrestrial fires that would otherwise run wild when the Earth's spiritual veins shifted, buying a sliver of hope for any remaining phoenix. 2 of the 3 clan hegemons were gone. Only the ancestral dragon and Rahu remained, locked in a lethal frenzy. In the distant void realm, Xuanwu watched, his massive shell trembling. They are atoning, Xuanwu murmured. Atoning? Longchen shook his head. Fellow Taoist, look again. Xuanwu sharpened his gaze. From where Qilin and the primordial phoenix had died and their Tao dissolved, 2 vast floods of profound yellow karma descended from the sky. But the karma did not congeal into forms. It dissipated rapidly, transforming into the most fundamental power of law and integrating into the shattered primordial world. The heavens and earth were being mended. Karma mending the heavens, Xuanwu whispered. No. Longchen's voice was soft but struck like lightning. That is not karma. It's kindling. Kindling? Xuanwu could not comprehend at first. Longchen's eyes pierced the battlefield like one watching a play whose script had long been written. Under the tribulation, the primordial world was sundered, and countless beings perished, accumulating immeasurable karma. That karma must be repaid. Qilin used his body to suppress the Earth's spiritual vein. The primordial phoenix used hers to regulate the fire veins. It seems tragic, but in reality, their deaths and the disappearance of their Tao were sacrifices to the heavenly Tao. Longchen's tone grew colder. Their deaths are being used to repair this world, to pay the debt this tribulation caused. They burned what remained of themselves to kindle a new dawn. To reduce the life and death of an emperor to mere fuel for repairing heaven and earth, what a cold, ruthless chess game. Who is playing this game? Xuanwu's voice quivered. Longchen said nothing, only watching the ancestral dragon and Rahu as they tore at each other in final frenzy. Now, he murmured, it is time for the last 2 sacrifices.